Salutations, everybody. It is Matty here today with episode 276 of the H.A.M Radio Podcast.
And it's me, Karak, with Ace. Wait, hold on a sec.
Ooh.
Oh, I wore the beanie, though, in honor of
Was that actually
Karak.
intentional? I didn't even think of that.
It was intentional, though. I'm probably... it's like hot in this room, and it's like... It's not even warm outside anymore. I don't know what's going on. Now my hair is all completely screwed up. Anyway, I'm Dustin with Colin's Last Stand and Handsome Phantom.
As you can tell, no bearded... What he used to call himself? The bearded shaman of gaming. That's what he used to call himself.
Whoa.
And, yeah, I know, right? What a great title.
Lit.
So yeah, no Karak this week. He bailed on us. No, he actually said that he's just exhausted from all the reviews he's been doing, which we get. He did a PS5, or he's in the process of making a PS5 review. Did a Series X review. Did one for Yakuza 7. He did one for Miles Morales. So he has taken a nice, well-earned weekend off.
Well, I have too many PS5 games to play.
Yeah,
no, I'm
right?
just kidding. I'm totally kidding.
Here's the thing, Dustin. We're here on the outside of the bubble playing our PlayStation 4s, and poor Karak.
Like a fucking chump.
Yeah,
okay?
right?
No.
I'm picturing... I ever since Karak posted that picture of that PS5 he got, I picture him, like, cuddling it at night. You know, like, it's just his body. Like, he's just enjoying life on a significantly higher level. Fucking Karak. But anyway,
dude.
Ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who are new here, this is usually a three-man podcast. It's myself, Dustin, and Karak of AngryCentaurGaming. We run this weekly podcast focusing on the heavy hitters when it comes to news in gaming each and every single week. If you want a little bit more of that, you can either just join up on the Patreon, patreon.com/MrMattyPlays, get early access to this show for a single buck. That, or you can get bonus content every Wednesday with an extra slice of ham. It's our supplemental podcast, so you get a little bit more action. Last week, we talked about mental health, because I know a lot of people have been stressing a lot this recent week or so for obvious reasons. And so I thought it was a good time to drop an episode focusing on hobbies and bettering ourselves, and what can you do when you're not feeling so hot. So it's a pretty great episode. A lot of people really resonated with it and appreciated it going into existence. And it was thanks to a lot of submissions we got on the Patreon Discord. So if you want more options for our show, they are available. We want to thank all of you also for listening. Our numbers have been seeing a pretty significant uptick week in, week out. Yeah, it has been crazy, dude. We've been seeing 10,000 plus on YouTube for about, I think, 5 weeks in a row now. And we've floated around there for a while, but now we're kind of like just leaping past it. And we're seeing our audio listeners go up a lot, which is also really great. So we're just very happy to see people are coming in, enjoying our show. We thank you for your feedback. Continue to keep it rolling. And do consider, if you're on one of those audio platforms, giving our show a review. I had a little whistle there. A show a review.
Yeah.
Sound like that character from Winnie the Pooh, bro. But yeah, consider giving our... I can't do it again. Show a review. It does help out a lot. And we'll have more on the audio platform in the coming weeks. We're waiting on a couple of things. And I know I've said that for multiple weeks, but I want to make sure people know who are invested in that platform. There is stuff that we have ready to talk about when we are able to. But this week's episode is going to be more like a next-gen extravaganza. We've got things from the PlayStation 5 review. Some Series X reviews have popped up. We're seeing Miles Morales reviews come out. There's even information on the status of the PlayStation 5 on launch day and where you can acquire it. So I think that's going to be pertinent information. We're talking about Demon's Souls Remake. We're talking about some of the next-gen upgrades we're seeing across multiple releases and backwards compatibility, what's coming there. Of course, we have your patron questions. And so it should be a pretty next-gen decorated week. Of course, next week's show, we'll be here sharing our impressions on the PlayStation 5. And in my case, I'm also getting a Series X. I'm going to tinker with that a little bit too, and you'll see videos on my channel. I feel like we got to start being that show, Dustin, that links everything. Because now that, at least when we look at our YouTube channel, we know, okay, people are listening through MrMattyPlays, right? But when they're on audio, if they're just discovering us, who the hell are we to them? Do we start just being that team of like everything we say, we follow up with a link? No, that's kind of fucking
you
annoying,
don't want
to
plug too much.
Yeah, it's kind of fucking annoying, right? Yeah. You can find us if you like us, right?
I mean, you can find both Maddie and I on Twitter, our various outlets, whatever you want to say. Maddie, wait, I had a comment though, real quick.
Please.
I have to give you props for the mental health thing, because
thank you.
When I don't know if it was before I started this show, I was investigating some of your back catalog of videos, And
Oh.
you have been always very honest with your audience and very pro mental health from years ago. I saw a video that was like many years ago. This sounds creepy that I was like watching one of your really old videos, but I was just like,
you're gonna join
I was
our
just
show.
seeing, I like to see like, especially as a successful YouTuber, like what they were like 5 years ago, what they were like maybe 10 years ago, depending on how old the channel was. There's a video of like you at the park talking about like different stress stuff, like how you were dealing with some things. And I think that's cool.
I remember that.
Being honest with your audience and letting them know that they're not alone and stuff like that. It's a commendable thing. And so I commend you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I always thought it was just important because of two things. I felt like it almost, when I'm going through those tough times and I'm like, oh, this fucking sucks. Like, I feel like it kind of gives purpose to it. It's like, all right, it wasn't for nothing. I had the chance to like take something I struggled with, put it out there, let people know like either A, you're not alone, or B, like there's a way through this, or here's what I did. Because, a lot of YouTubers, and like, I guess I wouldn't say guilty of it, but like a lot of YouTubers are all like good and rare and with energy on the camera. And,
right.
Sometimes you can watch that from the outside and be like, how are they always happy? Like I had that for a while. So yeah, I've always tried to be open with it. I try to do it like once a year. Like this year I have a video plan, just kind of sitting down, talking to the camera about like, this year, like obviously it hasn't been easy for clear things that keep us stuck inside. But, just on a side note, it's been a shitty year for me. And I just kind of keep trying to push through it because I want to make that video and I want to talk to people and share that story. Not like some hero, but, just to let people know there's always light at the end of the tunnel in some way, shape, or form.
Right.
So yeah, thank you for that. And thank you for stalking me. I do appreciate it.
Yeah, I had to investigate, make sure that I wasn't, starting this show with some schmuck.
Yeah.
So
no, you got to be on top of it, right? If I was like, hey, we were on like a Discord call. I'm like, hey, you want to join? Like, I'd be like, yeah, I'm going to do my research first. Who the hell is this guy even?
If I'm being honest, I don't think I was researching for to vet you or anything. I was just curious. So
okay. Well, that works. Yeah. There's an extensive catalog. That's what I like about my catalog of YouTube videos is you can see me growing up. Like I was very very immature, like many people when they were like 17 or 18. That's around the time my channel grew. And I definitely made mistakes and stuff. And so I'm very thankful I had an audience that grew with me and kind of just let me figure shit out and was always constructive. Yeah, so for those listening, please continue your constructive criticism, your feedback. It helps make our show better. With that, Dustin, we like to every single intro go over what we're playing and what we've been up to, what we're promoting. It's just you this time, so I'm just gonna.
Wow.
There's no choice between you and Karak. It is just dishing it off to you.
Dang, it's unfortunate too because I don't have many new things to talk about. Just because like I was at Collins for a few days, that took up a lot of time, and been doing a lot of work behind the scenes on stuff that you guys will see early next year that I'm very excited about.
Very exciting stuff.
Very exciting, yes. So I'm still playing Ghost Runner, and I'm just, a broken record at this point because every time I play it, I enjoy it more. It's like it's weird because that and Hades are two games this year that I'm like, the gameplay is so good. And obviously there's a million other aspects of both of those games that make it good. The art direction and stuff like that. But yeah, Ghost Runner, I'm continually impressed with, really, really enjoying it. And I still think you can get it for pretty cheap. I'm curious about what it's like to play on console with a controller because it feels like such a PC centric game.
Yeah, you gotta be able to flick the wrist quick and kind of like turn to an enemy or jump off a wall. I was watching I think it was like Storm Yorha, like that Twitter account. They posted a gameplay clip of Ghost Runner and just like how fast it is. I'm like, how do you do that on a console?
Dude, and what I like about it is that it's one of those games that perfectly drip feeds you not only new mechanics but new obstacles and enemies. So where I'm playing now, there's like a specific enemy that you can't just hit. You have to parry them first and then hit them, which you're like, okay, so that's just like a 1-2 action. But usually there's like two of those dudes, a dude with a machine gun, and like a bunch of like walls, like all kinds of stuff. So it's like putting all these pieces together.
It's like a combat puzzle, right? Like
yeah, that's exactly it. So yeah, I'm really enjoying that. And the only other thing, ironically, that I've been playing, and this was just like a little bit last week, is that I restarted Sekiro again.
What? Why?
I don't know. It was one of those
What?
things that it was like, I just felt compelled to play it again because I love that combat. Something like since I beat it.
It's got to be something, because I have friends, every friend of mine who has beat that game has beat it at least 3 times.
Dude, that's like Dark Souls 3 and Bloodborne. Both of those games I've probably beat. Dark Souls 3 at least 3 times. Bloodborne is probably closer to like 4 or 5.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
but,
yeah.
And we'll get into this when we start talking PlayStation 5. I'm considering just stopping my playthrough right now and then playing it on PS5.
Yeah, we got that in the news.
There's something about the thought of going and trying to get that platinum. I don't usually get the platinum itch anymore. I've kind of gotten rid of that. I've purged the trophy hunter out of me because it was destroying the way I played games.
Yeah,
but
same.
A little chance at a Sekiro platinum?
Yeah.
Maybe
it's weird, man. I don't get the platinum itch as strong now, but one game type that always gets me is like either, oh, you see it and you're like, I love this game and this looks attainable. Of course, that's most people. Or collectathons, like a Ubisoft open world. I'm like, oh, I want to go for this. Like, I don't know what it is. It just gets its hooks in me now. And I usually never do it because I just know I'm gonna get pulled too deep. And sometimes I don't want that. I don't want the game to take over my life.
Also, one other thing is that, just as an update on our conversation from last week about Watch Dogs Legion.
Oh, yeah.
I've decided that I'm intrigued by this game and I like what I played. But now I've been seeing a lot of reports of save bugs, specifically on PC, that are eating people's saves. And as I mentioned last week, the performance I've been having has been less than stellar. That I was like, this one is just going to go on the shelf for now. Because
I get that.
Just because like the thought of really diving in and then having my save eaten is just unacceptable. Which I think part of that also is because I got the game for free with my graphics card. So I don't feel like this, like the weight of $60 spent to like go and really dive in. So especially with, I mean, next week we just have a smorgasbord of games coming.
Sure do.
So
sure do.
I'm fine just letting that one, sit for a little bit.
Yeah, I get that entirely. I'd probably be doing the same thing because for me, what I'm playing is, it's funny, you can't talk about much either. I can't because I'm playing Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and that's literally all I can say. Can't give impressions, can't tell you guys when I can talk about it. Just I am playing that. And so that has been taking up the majority of my time. It's like I went back to Smite every now and then. They dropped the TMNT Battle Pass, and of course, after reviewing this past week the worst game of the generation, which you should go check out, I had to go get some good TMNT in my soul, and so it's just a MOBA, as some of you are probably familiar with. Smite's a MOBA based on gods, and I always enjoyed it. It's just good fun, and now they have skins with Ninja Turtles and the Shredder and Splinter, and it's awesome. So that pulled me back in. I haven't played Smite in a while, but it's been fun to just go back and mess around. Outside of that, I started The Mandalorian. I started watching that.
Ooh,
yeah,
nice. There's a new episode out today. So you starting from season 1?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
I am 7 episodes in.
Okay, so you're pretty
for me. Yeah,
you're pretty close to being done with season 1 then, I would think. I can't remember.
Yeah, season 1's got 8 episodes.
Okay.
And so the season 2 hype caught my interest, but my girlfriend, she sat me down. She's like, give it a shot. And I like it. I'm not as in love with it as I think a lot of the internet is.
Yeah, I'm with you.
It's very episodic, and that's not a bad thing. It's just that there's like the first 3 episodes are a great arc, and I'm thinking, wow, this is really good. And then after that, it just kind of falls off because then you're just like self-contained story, self-contained story, self-contained story. And there's like micro progressions, but nothing that's really keeping me held in my seat. Like if I watched that full first season and it was over there, I don't know what's going to happen in episode 8. But for me, I'm not really like on the edge of my seat anticipating more. Like I just decided to watch it because if I can't watch 8 episodes of a Star Wars thing, there's really no hope for me when it comes to TV or movies. But yeah, I've been enjoying it. It's good, especially just a show based off Mandalorians. Even if it's not like the time period, I'm most familiar with them thanks to KOTOR. So just seeing that in general is cool. And I read Game Informer posted an article today, I think it was. I saw a headline saying that there is a KOTOR Easter egg inside of Mandalorian season 2. So I do want to see that, of course. But I do plan on keeping up with it. Half hour each week is fine. That's the one thing I do like about episodic TV. I miss that a little bit. I used to always sit down with like my mom and watch The Walking Dead. That was like one of my favorite things to do. That show is better now apparently, but it started to really suck after, I think I want to say it was like season 7 or 8. Like, that's saying something for me. I kept up with that show for a while before I tapped out. But yeah, I miss that episodic TV feeling. So it's nice to have this. I know a lot of people like the season dumps so they can binge. I don't like that. I like how Disney Plus is doing it.
Yeah, it depends on the show for me. I like for something like The Mandalorian, like once a week, I think is perfect. Now, yeah. Maddie, you reminded me to move into some weeb territory.
Oh, please.
Are you excited?
Please.
For Attack on Titan next month?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Oh my God.
I cannot wait.
And
this is like,
dude, it's going to be the holy grail of anime for me because you got Attack on Titan. That was my first like true, like I'm into anime, right? Like I didn't know Dragon Ball, Pokemon, right? You got that. And then afterwards, next month, I think more exciting personally, Promised Neverland season 2.
I need to finish that. I need to finish season 1. I'm like, I think at least halfway through. I just kind of dropped it the last couple of weeks.
Dude, I adore that show. Okay. We know my TV history, so those listening, listen carefully. I've watched this show 3 times.
Whoa. 3 times for Maddie. Damn.
Yeah. Come on, man. Like I love this show. It is so good. If the second season's bad, I'm going to be heartbroken. I am very invested. I like this is a show that once I finished it, I looked up like, is there manga? Like, is there anything I can get for this? Like, I couldn't find anything because it was kind of fresh at that time. So yeah, like I'm really big on this one. Very big on Attack on Titan as well, but I'm just sad that it's going to be over after that, right? Season 4 is it. Dude,
it's going to be an event in my house because my wife, Holly, who watches a lot more anime than I do, she's kind of not bitter towards me, but I didn't get into Attack on Titan until the last season. And she's been watching it for years now. She's like, you have it so lucky. You're so lucky because you only have to wait this one gap of time in order to get the conclusion. Whereas I've been in this for years.
Dude,
I was like,
our Holly and my girlfriend need to meet. That's all I'm saying.
Dude, because so she's a big weeb also?
Yeah, that, but it's more so that my girlfriend approaches me with that same like pseudo elitism, kind of like a you're not quite on my level with certain things that just oh man, like I'm just like, come on.
Right.
It's so
funny. So yeah,
bro.
I think that's December 7th is the release date in Japan for that. So
okay.
Very exciting.
Soon.
But anyway, I guess we should talk about video games on our video game podcast.
Yeah, before we lose all of our audience.
Right.
All right, we're going to be talking about, like I said, all next gen. So we're getting right into it. Now, originally, and this is not like, I want to make sure people know I'm not saying anything negative about Karak. The original plan, though, was to just kind of interrogate Karak on all of his impressions on games and devices and just kind of go from there and then expand. So obviously when he pulled out of the show, what we decided to do was reformat this segment where we're kind of just doing a general reading of impressions, sort of a reviewing the reviews. As some people know on the channel, I did that for some time. I still like to do that, just going through all of the reviews that have been written. We're doing that in particular with Series X, as well as PlayStation 5, as well as Miles Morales. We're going to focus more so on the PlayStation side of things. They've sort of dominated the PR window for this week, and I think there's a lot more tied to their discussion with next-gen upgrades and Demon's Souls remake, where it is going to be more of a PlayStation-centric episode. So, by all means, if you're on YouTube, put in your We Hate Xbox comments. We are going to be searching all over for them.
Right.
Dustin, where do you want to start? Do we want to start with the general console? Do we want to start with Miles Morales? I'd say the hardware first, right?
Let's start with the hardware. Yeah, okay. I think that's a good spot to be at.
So it's all you then. You've got the impressions up on OpenCritic.
Yeah, so where do we want to, I mean, I have on OpenCritic kind of like a summary or like the main conclusion statements from a couple different outlets, which I think it's important for people when you're looking at reviews for things like this. I always like to go to like either tech or non-gaming sites as well that do reviews. Like there's a review here from the Washington Post. Let's do that one first, just because I think that's kind of an interesting angle.
Okay.
This is from Elise Farvis over at the Washington Post. Witnessing the full potential of the PS5 will take time as developers tinker with the new tools, crafting novelties, or pushing the boundaries of the console's remarkable tech. But even just this glimpse into the future feels promising, ellipsis. The PS5 is a beast in both its tech and its size. The former is its greatest strength, the latter is its weakness. The machine takes up too much room, but considering most won't spend their time lugging it around, this shouldn't be too detrimental. So, let's start with that before we read another one. The impression, and we already knew this, I felt like when I was watching a lot of these reviews, I didn't really gain any new information, which is fine. Right. It just feels like a lot of the stuff has already been covered in previews. But the big thing that a lot of the reviews talking about are the physical size of the console. Do you feel like this is a detriment to the review process in any way?
Like I feel like it's fair to mention, because you got people like me, like my setup personally, I'm in deep trouble next week. That's all I'm saying. I am in deep trouble next week. I don't know where I'm going to put these systems. I have to figure something out. It is going to be looking really strange in my bedroom with how those consoles are lined up. But yeah, I think it's important because there are people who I'd say do move their systems from room to room. I remember when I was younger, I used to like take my 360 and I'd bring it out to the big TV in my living room. And then when my parents come home, I'd bring it back to my little TV in my bedroom. I don't know if that directly answers your question, but like, yeah, I feel like it's kind of pertinent. Do
you have to lug yours to and from your office? Do you do gameplay capture in the office or anything like that?
I have a couple of times, yeah. I have a couple of times. Funny enough, both times I can think of recently were for Ghost of Tsushima. One time I brought it here for capture, and I was waiting for my girlfriend to show up. And then the other time I was streaming the Legends game mode, and so I had it here hooked up to the TV to my left. And so, yeah, that's the other thing is I wonder, this thing is big enough where I feel like I could see Sony sort of embracing the size of it and going, hey, we're going to sell a carrying case for this. Or something that you can transport the console with safely at that. That's the thing is, if I remember I saw a lot of media, for example, when they like went on trips or whatever, they'd carry their PS5s with them and like hook it up in a hotel or something like that. Or I'm sorry, PS4s. They'd hook them up in hotels. I don't think you can do that anymore. That thing takes up too much luggage space. Like, I know this seems like stuff that's not important, folks, but as we, the next gen awe wears off, and it's like a new car. You're not as protective of it. You're not parking like super close to the store. You can park a little further back and make the walk. You're not afraid of it getting hit. Same thing with your PlayStation 5 here. Once that wears off, you're going to want to take it places maybe. So yeah, I think the size is definitely a problem. But I've also read a lot, and I'm not sure if any of these reviews touch on it, that it's also very quiet.
Yes, that is a big thing, which here's the thing I'm wondering is, and what I should have done earlier is that if we go and we watch reviews of either the PlayStation 4 or the PlayStation 4 Pro, do they mention it being quiet? Because I feel like everyone has the same experience that, for the most part, maybe not everybody, that the PS4 Pro, when they got it, was quiet. Mm-hmm. And then however many months or years later, it's fucked, basically.
Yeah, it's something with the Pro, because my base PS4 really doesn't roar as loud as, even on current games that are like The Last of Us Part 2, like you could hear it running. It was definitely pushing itself, but it wasn't to the extent that I've seen online, where I've seen people in like other rooms just filming like a wall, and you can hear like down the hall around the corners like a.
That's how mine is, dude.
Yeah, really? It's that bad?
Yeah.
That's horrible. It's gotta be hard to focus.
From my understanding, and I'd love if anyone knows any more info about this, please leave it in the comments. it has a lot to do with the thermal paste application, because I'm seeing people online. I've seen guides that are like, if you've cleaned your PS4 Pro and you got all the dust out and it's still loud, one of the only solutions is to go in and completely gut it to the point where you're removing the heatsink off of the CPU and you're putting new thermal paste on.
Wow.
And that will fix it. So it could be a situation that in the factory, some of the thermal paste application on some of them is good, like for you. And then for me, mine got either too much or too little or something.
Yeah.
And that it's like, it's like this high pitched squeal almost.
How do you play games, man?
Well, what's weird is that I've noticed is that like sometimes it'll start loud and then like once it settles in, it will kind of tamper off a little bit. Other times it's just like use headphones or something.
Wow, that's bad.
Yeah, it's awful.
Avoid it. Because what is the term for the PS5 with the cooling they're using? Not liquid cooling. It's like a different type of.
It's a liquid metal.
Liquid metal. Thank you. Yeah, that's what it is, and that I think is one of the driving forces behind it being so quiet.
Right. That and that the heat sink that the liquid metal is used to attach the heat sink to the processor, right? That the heat sink is fucking huge in the PS5, which is why the PS5 itself is so big in a lot of aspects. So I'm glad to hear it's quiet though.
Yeah, right. I suppose it's kind of as we close the gap between PCs and consoles as much as we can, it's only natural that the consoles start to mimic the size of the PC. I remember when we first saw the Series X, we were just like, whoa, that kind of mimics a PC tower. At least that's what I first thought when I saw it. You know, I've tried to avoid like the unboxings and the impressions videos as much as possible because like reading a little paragraph or whatever on what people think of it is different from watching it, the magic kind of unfold, because I feel like that's such a fun part of it. Like I still remember unboxing my PS3, my PS4, my PS2. Like I just look forward to that so much. I don't want that to be spoiled for me. Do we have any other impressions?
Yeah, let's go to a more traditional outlet, we'll say, for gaming. Let's go to IGN. Luke Riley wrote, with a launch lineup dominated by games that are also available for PS4 and on the back of a generation already punctuated with incrementally more powerful hardware revisions like the PS4 Pro, the PS5 doesn't quite land as a solid knockout punch yet. But it's definitely got the power and speed to be a real contender, although the jury's out on the stamina of its tiny 667 gigabyte SSD. And this is me adding in here a little note. That is after the OS is the 667 gigabytes. He goes on and says, however, while the PS5's well-considered UI and blisteringly quick load times for PS5 games make it a pleasure to use, it's the DualSense controller that's proven to be the surprise haymaker I never saw coming. It truly leaves other controllers feeling primitive in comparison. And I think that's actually a good talking point for you and I right now, Matty, is this DualSense controller.
That's all you hear about right now, man. I'm shocked, right? Like usually I hear like, oh, it feels good. Okay. But everyone's really signaling DualSense is like a game changer. It feels very next gen.
Dude, it's so funny because I know that for me, even, and a lot of other people, the DualSense was the first big like hardware thing that we saw from the PlayStation 5, and we're like, why is Sony pushing the controller first? It just doesn't it didn't make any sense to us at the time. And they could tell us all these things. They could talk about whether it's the adaptive triggers or the increased haptics, things like that. But I think now that it's in the hands of, different reviewers, we're starting to get a different picture of the situation, in that I've seen reports, people saying like this controller is what makes this console feel next gen. It makes it feel like something new and exciting. This is what adds a new level of immersion to these games. And that's really exciting, because we've seen, and I think rightfully so, we've seen Xbox hammer power, because they got completely obliterated last generation, at least with the launch of the OG consoles as far as power, and they made sure they would never make that mistake again. Rightfully so.
Right.
So to see Sony, and it's not that the PS5 is underpowered by any means. I think the jury's still out as far as what the power differential will be between these two systems. But right now, the DualSense seems to be that little next gen experience. So I'm curious, Maddie, what do you I feel like this is like an unlikely thing that we're not that it's unlikely, but it's just like
definitely.
Oh, the next gen thing is the controller. Like that seems so weird.
I want to preface all of this by just folks know that I haven't grinded a lot of videos, as I just mentioned earlier, but also we have not put our hands on any of this. So only thing I saw, what kind of concerns me, I want to start off with this and get this out there, is I remember watching Spawnwave take apart the PS5 controller, and he showcased kind of how the DualSense works, and there's like a little gear, and then there's sort of a spiral, and that creates you can create different levels of almost friction in the trigger, but it's made of like plastic, and I'm just like, what happens when that snaps? Like, what is it like in there? How durable is that over years, right? A lot of people were talking about, oh, the battery life's better, but I'm like, now are we going to be talking about DualSense snaps? Like, is that what's going to happen here? So I worry about that, I'll be honest, but I guess it's not super foreign for next gen or a new feeling in a game to be delivered through a controller. When you think of I think it was it PS2 with, or was it PS1 with DualShock, where you had the vibration in the controller, and that was very like revolutionary. Now it's been in every controller since. So I guess it's not super foreign, but it's exciting for me to hear that there is a thing that delivers on. This feels different. It changes how you play games almost, and it makes it feel like a new experience, where I feel the leap from PS3 and Xbox 360 at the end of its generation to Xbox One and PS4. And as we went through that generation, there was always a feeling of like the changes would never be as substantial as what we saw with a PS2 to PS3. And so to know that maybe there are outside peripherals that can change that, and something like a DualSense is a part of that, is exciting. And I think it makes sense, because when you think of what Sony pushed last gen with the PS4, it was the touchpad. And the touchpad just ended up becoming another button. And I feel like because the DualSense is so based off of feedback, that developers will be encouraged to make use of it, where it's not something, and we'll talk about this a little bit later on with Demon's Souls, it's not like the tip videos and stuff, where I feel like these are PS5-centric, I don't want to call them mechanics, but aspects that I think will be left in the dust by most teams. I feel like this is something that most developers can get creative with and take advantage of. And I don't think it'll be as simple as just, the haptic feedback when you draw back your bow and arrow. But it's going to be interesting to like have a cutscene. You already know it's going to happen where like someone goes to draw a gun and you pull the trigger, and like you can feel like you can actually feel the jam, and you're like, oh shit,
right.
Like something like that in a Resident Evil game, Resident Evil 8 maybe. That's going to be like a really crazy moment if your gun jams up. So I feel like I can see developers really honing in on what this controller brings, and that will change how games are played. And that, in all honesty, could be not a disservice to Xbox. I don't think it's going to kill their console, but it will make it more appealing to play on a PlayStation 5 at times, because if developers really take advantage of that, it could be something really special. So I think it's exciting, right? I think it's exciting to know, like, hey, we've got something here that changes the game a little bit.
And to be fair with this DualSense, is part of these reviews, and we're going to touch briefly on Spider-Man, because I know we're going to deep dive in that in a little bit, but the thing that I was seeing is that people were saying the haptics in Astro's Playroom is incredible, but will this go beyond just this demo software, whatever it is, which it seems like a lot more than a demo. It seems kind of like a whole game. I think there's a platinum. I saw it's something that you can get a platinum in that.
Yeah, you can get,
which is cool. Which just, I mean, whatever. Trophies are cool, but to me that gives a feeling of like, hey, this is an actual game, which is neat.
Yeah, I remember reading it was like 5 hours, 6 hours long.
Yeah,
it's a full-on game.
That's sweet. So what's interesting though is that in hearing about Spider-Man is that I heard specific reviewers say like, yeah, the haptics in Spider-Man are nowhere near as exciting as they are in other places. Now, this is, if Karak was here, we could try to get a better idea, because I'm wondering if these reviewers are are playing other games where the haptics are equally or somewhat on par as far as the level in Astro, and that Spider-Man is an outlier, or if we're seeing kind of like a light a light use of it as far as other launch games. That's something that we're just gonna have to wait and see.
Yeah. That's the thing, is I wonder if that's because they made it also for the PS4. Yeah, that's the thing, is what did the review that you just read say? It said something about how like it doesn't have like it's like a library consisting of mostly last gen stuff. Like I feel like all we're seeing right now are games running a little bit better on a PS5 via either backwards compatibility or, in the case of Miles Morales, it was limited by what the PS4 could handle. Like they had to have certain caps. And don't get me wrong, like I watched Karak's review, for example, of Miles Morales, and like I saw him switching between the fidelity mode and the frame rate mode, and there is like a surprisingly substantial difference there. But I'm gonna be interested to see when we start to see games directly made like this is for PlayStation 5. I think that's where you're gonna, of course, see a lot of the driving home of what the PlayStation 5 can bring. But as we move into the multi-plats of a Series X and a PlayStation 5 only game, and not being held back by last gen, that's the thing. It's console reviews are weird because no one has the ability to see into the future. Like everyone's talking, for example, that these consoles are quiet, and what happens if these games really start to push things? Like, will they end up roaring to some extent? At least in the case of the Xbox, because I think the liquid metal of the PlayStation will be just fine. But it's just stuff worth thinking about, where I feel like they do nothing but create PR when you look at it, because it's a $500 purchase. I think most of us had our mind made up, and you can't even really pre-order one right now. We have a little bit of news on that we'll talk about in a little bit, but yeah, it's just it's a funny conversation to have.
Right. And what's interesting too, as far as just these reviews in general, is that reviewers, as far as I know, do not have access to what is considered the only next gen only game with Demon Souls. And I guess Godfall is also so. Okay, let me know if this is correct, Maddie. The only 3 games that are next gen only are Demon Souls, Godfall, and Astro. Those are the only games that are only available on next gen or PC, as far as Godfall is concerned.
I actually know that's on PS4 as well. I believe you're correct. Yeah, I was about to say the Pathless, but I think that's PS4 as well.
That's coming to phones, dude. I just realized that the other day. It's coming to Apple Arcade.
Oh,
yeah. Which I was like, so spend $5 on an Apple Arcade thing, or spend $40 or $50 to play it on PS5.
Right.
Which I get it. It's different. I don't want to play it on a phone, but it's just the economics of that is weird to me.
Yeah, I think you're right there, and especially that's sort of what I was getting at too, is that I think Demon Souls Remake will be the most telling one, and the fact that when did Karak get his system? About a week ago. I feel like there's been plenty of time for them to get this game to the people who have the consoles. From what I've heard, no one's getting that game early, right? So like,
I don't think that there will be reviews for this game when the console launches.
Yeah, which is
I'm pretty sure it's coming really late.
Hey, look, Dustin, we should be thanking PlayStation for this, right? You and I were on the outside looking in.
Right.
We're trying to find our breakthrough, and what better game than, of course, Demon Souls Remake. So I'll be all over that. I'll be like, yeah, let's go. It's free. It's free here. It's free game here. I can get in there with everyone else now. It's an even playing field.
Now, Maddie, I think there is one other thing that we should really talk about before we move along here, and that is the question of the size of the SSD. And that was something that Luke Riley mentioned in that IGN part that I read.
Right.
Is that after the OS, you have 667 gigabytes left over. And from what I know, I've heard mixed reports about how many gigs Call of Duty is, but I know it's
definitely
small.
Like the 150s to 200 range at minimum.
Right.
That's a problem. That's a problem.
So it is confirmed that you can play PS4 games on your PS5 and have them saved on an external drive, which I'm waiting to see a Digital Foundry video as far as like hooking up an SSD, like what types of SSDs as far as external can you use. Something else they've confirmed is that the expandable storage will not be available at launch. Like they're just like, no, you can't, even if you put in an NVMe drive into the PS5, it will not work. They've like turned it off, which this shouldn't be surprising to anybody because in the Mark Cerny presentation at GDC, they said that they had to basically wait and see for newer NVMe drives to come out and to approve them as working on PS5. So
there you go.
I wouldn't be surprised that, I mean, you would hope that within a few weeks after launch, maybe sooner, there will be a stamp of approval on select NVMe drives and a firmware update that says, that opens that up as a possibility. Because if you're looking at 667 gigabytes, this thing's going to get full fast. Especially do you think that's a problem? Like,
yeah, 100%, especially with all the games that are coming out. I know like a lot of people, I don't know what just happened to my voice there. It was like coming out, but seriously.
It's puberty too.
Yeah, right? Like I'm 25. What the fuck's happening? I think the issue is really that, I guess it depends on how much a consumer plans on purchasing. For me, I want to get like pretty much every game for the PS5 that I can, like Miles Morales, Demon's Souls Remake. I want to try Sackboy. So like, that will load up my hard drive quickly, especially with like something like Call of Duty. I think my hard drive will actually probably be close to full, which that is an issue for sure.
Right.
Like I find it shocking in a way. Like I couldn't even plug in like a USB one. Like that's not an option just to like save games. I don't know.
If you do plug in a USB one, it can only work with PS4 games. The PS5 games must be on either the internal SSD or eventually when they let you put in a new one.
Interesting. Yeah, it's an issue. I don't think it'll be an issue immediately because it'll be a little more easier to navigate your library if you're just hopping in on PS5 and PS5 versions of those games, which, there is a limited quantity of those. But I'm hoping that it doesn't take longer than like a month or two to get that expanded storage. And I hope it's priced right, because here's the thing is that I get these flashbacks to, and especially Microsoft's already doing it with their like little memory cards where they're like $220. And I just get these flashbacks to like the Vita memory cards. It's not like these systems are going to tank though, because I think less people were attracted to handheld gaming, but just overpriced memory cards are the most like disgusting things. Like I would rather navigate my memory issues for months and months on end than give you like $200 for extra memory. That's just me. Maybe I'm weird, but I don't know. I just hope they get around to it quick and it's at a price I can swallow, which is less than $200 for sure.
My theory on this, Matty, is that we saw some NVMEs come out a couple weeks ago that met the spec that Mark Cerny said in that presentation. So my theory is that Sony is currently, you would hope, looking at those, testing them, working with the manufacturer, whatever, and potentially going to approve those drives.
Right.
Those currently are like exactly the same price as the Xbox One, Xbox Series X expansion. So like $200 ish.
Yeah. The way I look at it, and some people might be like thinking I'm just acting ridiculous, but I guess I think of all the other things I could take $200 with and what I could do with that, like whether it's picking up games or improving something in my videos, like just things like that, like investments. And I think of, okay, I could just navigate my memory. Because at the end of the day, even I have like a terabyte of memory or 2 terabytes of memory on my PC, I still delete games even if I have a ton of memory because I just don't want to clog up my hard drive. Right. I would be doing the same thing on my console. So it's like I'm just taking a little extra step to navigate more. But we'll see. I think 600 is extremely limited. Here's how I look at it. I'm already also feeling the heat a little bit on PS4 because my external hard drive corrupted.
Ooh.
And so, I just this last half a year, I've been kind of just living off the 500 gigabytes of memory, or less than that, obviously, of base PS4 on the base PS4. So I'm already feeling the heat there. So what I'm doing is I'm preparing myself. That's what I'm really doing. I'm ready for whatever the PlayStation 5 throws at me.
Maddie, I forgot one of the most important things that I feel like we should talk about for PS5, because it's not, so many reviewers didn't talk about it. And that is backwards compatibility. There is a fantastic video from Digital Foundry I recommend everyone go watch that talks about backwards compatibility on PS5. And I'll give you a little bit of what they talk about, but I would recommend go watching it. So basically, PS5 backwards compatibility, or PS4 backwards compatibility with PS5, is, according to them, great. It is fantastic, which is totally, we were nervous. I mean, rightfully so. I feel like a lot of people were nervous about this. Sony's messaging on this was really bad. During the Mark Cerny thing that we keep mentioning, they were talking about testing the top 100 games. We're like, what does that mean? Then we were hearing about compatibility, that they were working to achieve full compatibility. And we're like, what does that mean? It just kept like, the messaging kept getting worse.
Yeah.
And so Digital Foundry, I believe they said that pretty much everything they tested worked without issues. Even some of the games that they said, like that Ubisoft said wouldn't work, they were like, as far as we can tell that these work, maybe there's something late game that happens that makes it not work. But what's even more exciting is that, just like the Series X, games with unlocked frame rates are working amazing. Like, for some specific examples, Sekiro, which runs with a checkerboard rendering of 1800p, runs at basically locked 60 FPS.
There we go.
And Final Fantasy, which has their light mode, which is unfortunately 1080p, locked 60. And other games that use like dynamic resolution will keep at that high level. So it's really the best outcome that we could have hoped for.
For sure.
And what's even more exciting too is that they don't have a video for this yet, is that they had a little bit of footage of showing like Ghost of Tsushima and Days Gone running at like 4K 60. And that is so exciting to me. Like, the idea of developers being able to just make like a couple tweaks specifically for something like Bloodborne, maybe, and going and allowing their games to take advantage of the more powerful GPU and CPU in order to achieve way better performance.
Hell yeah. Yeah,
so
I'm excited about that. We actually have a whole list of games that are getting next gen upgrades and some other games that are going to benefit from the backwards compatibility that we'll touch on later in the show, and a whole section dedicated to that.
Oh,
yeah. It's going to be
dang.
exciting. You're
a step ahead of me, dude.
No, actually, technically, I think you were a step ahead of me. You were already 2 sections ahead.
I'm so excited for me. And I know that there's like this argument, like no one cares about backwards compatibility. And I'm like, I agree and disagree. I think that it was different when we were coming from 360 and PS3. I think there was very much a feeling of out with the old, because those consoles were feeling very, very dated at that time. I don't know, maybe that was just me and maybe some other people.
I agree.
But I remember being ready to throw my 360 out the window, because I was like, this thing, I'm ready for the next thing, right? And I think that in some ways, people with this gen, I think there's obviously going to be a big upgrade. Like, it's clear. But the games that have come out in the last 2 years don't feel dated like I feel like the last few games of that generation did.
Right.
So the idea that your games from this generation are going to be there and be better is exciting to me, because there's plenty of games that I didn't play on this gen that I see myself playing in the next few years. So it's exciting.
Absolutely.
For me.
Absolutely. To cap off our console discussion, we still have Miles Morales to touch on a little bit. I wanted to read a little update from the PlayStation blog saying that launch day sales will be online only this year. They say due to the human virus.
Can you say it now? Karak was saying you can't. Well, no, was it you that
but
said?
I feel like you're putting your trust in YouTube to either
Never.
like just catch it with a bot or not. And
right.
Look, like because the thing is, I've had my videos just caught by bots before, and then like I send it to a staff member of YouTube, and then it just gets like the switch just flips, and the monetization's back on now. But it's just one of those things where it's
after all the views come in.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, no, I don't want to go through that again. They state that no units will be available for in-store purchase on launch day. They said, please don't plan on camping out or lining up at your local retailer on launch day in hopes of finding a PlayStation 5 console for purchase. Be safe, be home, and place your order online. Walmart had come out and said that they'll have pre-orders available online. Like lots of stores are coming out saying that they will have their pre-orders available online. So do be sure to follow those directives. You're not going to get anything by camping outside. I must emphasize that. You will not get anything by camping outside. And with that, let's move into a little bit of Spider-Man Miles Morales. So this is kind of our first, even though it's for the PS4 as well, it is kind of our first big PS5 related review because most of the reviewers that were playing this game were on a PlayStation 5, so they were showing off gameplay for the first time. It was kind of a mixture of getting impressions on a game, but also good PR for the console itself. So I'm also on OpenCritic here. We got a couple of paragraphs to read between Eurogamer, IGN, Metro, as well as Games Radar. Eurogamer says that this is a standalone expansion for 2018's excellent original with enhanced action and an irresistible new lead. So a lot of people really like Miles Morales, but that's a little vague, so we're just going to keep digging here, and then we'll go into individual reviews for a couple of snippets. IGN's Jonathan Dornbush writes, Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales is a fantastic follow-up, telling a wonderful story while improving upon the fundamentals of the first game. Metro Game Central writes in, a far better advert for the PS5 than its short length and last-gen assets might have suggested, with superior storytelling and compelling character and more compelling if I could read, that'd be great, and more compelling characters than the original. And then lastly, Games Radar says it's a brilliant but all too brief sample of Miles Morales' superhero life. Now, I don't know if they came out and said this, Dustin, but we had definitely speculated that this game would be shorter just because of the forced packaging of the PS4 remaster, or sorry, PS5 remaster of the Spider-Man PS4 from 2018. It just seemed very fishy how Sony was handling it. So are you caught off guard that, from what I've read, this game takes about 8 to 12 hours to run through the main story?
Yeah, I'm not surprised by that. I mean, since there's the two versions, right? Like there's also the $50 version that doesn't include. That's the one that I pre-ordered. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I'm not surprised that it's shorter, and honestly, it's like totally fine with me. Like, for example, I'm also looking at these OpenCritic reviews. One that stuck out to me was from EGM, which they gave it a 10 out of 10. And they said, don't be fooled into thinking Spider-Man Miles Morales is some minor spin-off of Insomniac's game's PS4 exclusive. Sure, it's not as long, but the experience is packed with enough new gameplay ideas and design refinements that it feels every bit like a true, substantial successor. Throw in a story that does justice to Miles' character and tech that wonderfully showcases the power of the PlayStation 5. You might have one of the best console launch titles of the modern era.
How do you make that gameplay better? So I'm thinking, like, I loved Spider-Man PS4's gameplay. I'm like reading I usually just go, okay, cool, good score. But I got really excited seeing some of these reviews.
Yeah, I mean, I really was in the camp that I was just expecting more Spider-Man, which was like totally fine with me. Just like give me a new story, same gameplay with some next gen sprinkled on top. But I'm excited to check this out. It's definitely like my number 2 most excited for game.
Of course.
So I'm surprised though to hear about the new gameplay ideas and design refinements. So I haven't watched any reviews for this. I was planning on just going in fresh and just kind of like doing what we're doing now, reading some of the highlights. There is one reviewer on here on OpenCritic, Jeremy Penter, ACG, a top critic.
Who's that?
He said, bye. And that's a link to this video. So
I love that, bro.
Apparently,
Man of many words.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye. Well, yeah, just because
here's a-
Open Critic, it just
yeah. They did a little blurb. Here's a
Right.
here's a little write up from Eurogamer touching on the gameplay in a way that I don't think is spoilery. Nowhere better is that flow displayed than in combat, another area where we see Morales' different traits being explored. His unique abilities, a camouflage that renders him invisible, and venom powers that charge through him like electricity, are layered on top of the original's moveset, giving you a slightly broader palette to choose from. Stealth has some sting taken out of it, while Miles' burgeoning venom powers also give you a new tech tree to explore, unlocking new abilities by picking up activity tokens and tech parts swirled around the map. So there's a mixture of progression and exploration as well as combat. Let's see here. Yeah, they don't really touch on the gameplay details much. When I was listening to Karak's review, it seems like, and as someone who's done PlayStation reviews in the past, they are notoriously strict with their NDAs, where you can sometimes not touch on things. And I feel like that also applies for Xbox. When I reviewed Gears of War 4, it was very much like a battle to really talk about that game, even though it was excellent. I really liked Gears of War 4. But yeah, a lot of people are also saying that the swinging is just as great as the original, and it's even better, of course, if you play in 60 FPS. But sometimes it's what I'm surprised about, Dustin, is a lot of folks are saying it's very tough to choose because the 60 FPS is great, but in that fidelity mode, it actually is as I touched on earlier in the show, a very substantial difference. Like you can see a lot of different things. Once again, please do check out Karak's review. He has a great, wrap up of everything that's in the package, but he does showcase, and of course Digital Foundry, I'm sure, showcases some of the graphical differences that are there. And I think it can kind of for me, I was just like, oh, it's going to be a sharper image. Cool. I don't really care about that. But you're seeing developers do more with the fidelity mode, and I think that might make it an attractive option for people.
Yeah, I think that
tough call.
It's a tough call. I think that I'm gonna be one of those freaks that plays both. Like,
oh, yeah,
I will probably be like, I'm feeling in a ray tracing mood right now, and then play through some at 30 FPS, and then like other times check out the 60 FPS because, yeah, it does seem like a hard decision.
Yeah, a lot of people are saying the story's also fantastic, which, that's interesting because really when you look at Insomniac's pedigree, they are amazing developers. Yeah, I think they are, honestly. I don't know if you agree with this. I think they're like the best developer that PlayStation owns. I just think they're kind of on fire. They're hitting their stride, and they've been very good for many years. Ratchet and Clank, Sunset Overdrive. But the commonality between these games is they're goofy, they're fun. Like, at least Ratchet, there's something endearing there. But they've never been storytellers. Now you've got 2 releases in a row from this team of really strong stories. What do you make of what Insomniac's kind of turning into now, where we're seeing like Miles is handled very well, arguably better than the original Spider-Man, and how he was kind of he weaves into this tale. Is that something that you really expected Insomniac to turn into when they were such a gameplay machine for really so many years?
Yeah, I guess that I feel like there's a lot of passion that you can sense from any interviews with Insomniac about specifically Spider-Man. It's clear that they're huge Spider-Man fans, or at least the people, as far as leadership. So obviously I think there's a lot of TLC, especially in this game. It's funny, Maddie, that you mentioned about Insomniac just being so like one of Sony's top tier, which I think that there's definitely, I don't know if I feel like that makes sense. It's funny because Colin and I did a video or a podcast ranking all of them, and I already forgot what my ranking was as far as developers. I think I put them at number 1 just because they're so diverse, and I think that now, especially that they're going to be exclusively for Sony, you're going to see a lot of cool stuff from them, because a lot of people either don't know or forget often that they are like a really good VR developer as well.
Yeah,
I've not
there too.
Yeah, I've not played any of the games they released for Oculus, but they're supposed to be very good. And so my hope for them is that they release this, then they'll release Ratchet and Clank, and then I'm assuming their next projects, because they're a multi-studio or multi-location team, is that one of them will be Spider-Man 2 or whatever that is. And I'd love them to see something totally new. And honestly, I think it'd be sweet to see something more serious from them, maybe more grounded. Or maybe not. You know, a lot of their games are sort of more of the fantastical fantasy, whether it's Resistance or Sunset Overdrive. But
yeah, I'd like to see them kind of hop back to Resistance, right? Like, I feel like PlayStation needs a first-person shooter, and I feel as if that would be kind of the grounded, gritty thing you're looking for. I mean, that game has no jokes. It really doesn't. It's a really kind of dark universe, but it's got that fun gunplay because it's like Ratchet and Clank, man, and like the gadgets in Spider-Man. Like, you're just flipping between these wild-ass weapons.
Yeah, I actually, honestly, I've never played a Resistance game.
Oh.
Ever.
They're fun.
And it's one of those things that once I became interested, it was like, there's no good way to play this game unless I want to get out my PS3. Yeah. I think the biggest potential for Resistance is to just restart. Is that a bad take as someone who's played it from you, Matty? Like, I feel like they could just reboot it.
No, I don't think so. I think it's because here's the thing is if they were going to continue it, I feel we would have seen a remaster package by now. Maybe that's something they couldn't do until they own them, and they are working on that now. But I feel like if they're going to continue it, they would have wanted to remaster it. The same way I think with Infamous. I think if they wanted to continue Cole's storyline, they would have remastered 1 and 2. So that's how I at least look at it. I feel like it's free money. It's catch up for people. It's refreshers for people. So I feel like, if they do go back to Resistance in any way, shape, or form, it is going to be in kind of a overhauled manner, which is fine because I don't know necessarily how great. I mean, let's be real. I like my PlayStation 3 a lot. I have very fond memories on that system, but that is not my first-person shooter machine. It just the controller feels like crap. That game, not really like it's a fun campaign shooter. It's not like a great online style shooter, like the way it plays. I'm saying, like movement and aiming and all that stuff. It's clumsy. It's like saying like Singularity is like the Doom of PS3 or some shit. Like it's like no. But yeah, I think realistically they would probably want to reboot it. Especially, I don't know what the familiarity is with a lot of people, right? Most folks are talking about Ratchet and Spider-Man. Those are their most prominent franchises. I don't know if Resistance carries enough weight to be like Resistance 4 is here. Doesn't really make sense.
Yeah. It's funny that you mentioned how PS3 was not your system for shooters. I got a PS3 way later in the generation. One of the first games I ended up playing on it was Uncharted 2. And I remember so Uncharted 2 was one of the first games I really dove into. I think I borrowed Killzone 2. And I was like, why the fuck am I shooting with the R1 button? It like broke my brain. It was so weird.
Yeah, I remember that. That was a big issue in the PS3 leading into the PS4. Like them having triggers was a huge deal.
The PS3 had those weird like the L2 and R2 were like
they were like
weird.
Squishy. Yeah, you could flip right off of them. And I remember playing Killzone 3 on my PS3, and that's where I was like, all right, playing shooters on this just doesn't feel good. The analog sticks are way too loose. Aiming with symmetrical analog sticks, it's not bad, but it sometimes doesn't feel great, in my opinion. I'm more of an offset kind of guy, like an Xbox controller. I also found another little tidbit when it came to Miles here. I went into the IGN review, and they say that Miles has a few new tricks to mix up the fun, as do the enemies. They say on one hand, there's Miles' bioelectricity, which is largely executed with L1 and a combo of face buttons. After charging a meter in combat, Miles can unleash temporarily paralyzing bursts of current that pack a wallop. Some of these Venom attacks, no relation to the symbiote guy, focus on one foe, while others allowed for more crowd control. And yet, more can help get an air combo going while warding off enemies. Mixing them in while Miles' basic attacks not only saved me in the midst of a packed battle, but also adds so much stylish flair and variety to how I approach these brawls. So I don't want to touch on it too hard because I know some people might be trying to avoid stuff, but Miles Morales looking to add a little crowd control action, some unique abilities on top of what's already existing there. I imagine there's like the web attack to pull you in, the basic attack knock-up attack where you hold square. So it's looking to be a pretty robust combat system. I'm kind of happy it's with all the games coming out. Are you happy that it's not as long? I know we touched on that earlier, and you can of course touch on the gameplay too. But are you happy that with the length ultimately that we can get to Demon Souls?
Yeah, that's the thing, is that I feel like it's a perfect little game to play, especially for you and I, like between Demon Souls sessions, just because I'm guessing that Demon Souls, like, you reach the point of you're like, okay, I've hit my maximum enjoyment for playing this in this session. I'm just gonna, throw my controller if I keep going. Switch over to Spider-Man, maybe switch over to Sackboy, whatever. But yeah, I'm always like, some people want every game to be as long as possible. Mm-hmm. And I get that. I get that people want as much value for the money you spend, especially now with games being $70 and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I get it. But I'm also super in favor of games being exactly as long as they need to be. And so I think that a nice, 8 to 12 hour experience is great. And they are charging less technically for it if you don't buy the special edition, and that it's 50. Yeah, it's $50. Yep. So,
well, we don't got to wait much longer, Dustin. Just about a week,
right.
And we'll have it in hand. We're going to not talk about it much more just because obviously we know the hardware is all out there, but people don't want the software ruined for them. So we will respect that. And with that, Dustin, sorry.
Matty, what's your pre-order status like on your PS5?
Last I looked, it says it has not charged me, but it says arriving Thursday.
Arriving Thursday. Okay.
Much like what you said. It says the same thing you said when you sent me the Xbox.
Yes.
This is arriving. It's the same thing, but it hasn't charged me yet.
This morning, I checked my credit card statement, and Sony has put a pending charge on mine for the PlayStation Direct. For that and Demon Souls, which I was like, when the charge came in for like $75 for Demon Souls, I was like, no, this is the actual new normal.
75, yeah, with tax.
With tax, I was like, oh my god! Yeah. But it is what it is. I will gladly pay $75 for Demon Souls Remake. I'm so excited.
Yeah, same.
But yeah, so
I'm nervous, man. I'll be honest. I'm nervous. It's keeping me up at night. I really I don't know if I'm gonna get it on launch day or not. I got a new TV for everything. I never told you that. Yeah,
you got a TV?
Yeah, I got a new TV. I'm officially.
What'd you get?
I got. Let me get it up so I can give you. It's a Sony X 900H. I invested.
Is that one of their OLEDs or is it?
That's like their.
Oh boy.
Yeah. It's a big boy TV.
Nice. And this will do, I'm looking at it right now on Sony's website.
Yeah, it's got HDMI 2.1.
Nice.
That's why it's pricey. I had to put half on a credit card.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I got my LG C9 earlier this year, and I got it through a really good deal on this site called greentoe.com.
Mm-hmm.
And it was still like $1,800 or something.
Yeah,
around that. It was a fucking investment.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The way I justified it, right, is number one, it's my job. Number two, it's next gen of consoles. But I have not bought a new television since 2012. And so as you and Karak know, and I regretted to admit, I've really gamed on 1080p for almost the entirety of this generation. I've been gaming on 1080p probably since like my high school days. So I was like, you know what? I want to be blown away. You know, I need some good shit in this year. Like, I am going to get my 4K nice ass TV with my new nice ass console, and I'm going to post up and look at a nice ass image on my nice ass TV.
Right. And dude, what happened for me is that I had a really nice Samsung KS8000, and I was like, you know what? It doesn't have HDMI 2.1, but I'm good because I just got this TV within 2 or 3 years. And then I don't know if this was a blessing or a curse. It randomly got a green line down the center.
Wow.
And so I was like, what the fuck? This is the most distracting thing to have one. It was like one line of pixels green down the center. And so like I had to like, I fought with Samsung and tried to get them to fix it, and they refused to fix it. Eventually they offered me like a partial refund. I was like, well, if I have some extra money and I want a TV that I might as well future proof myself. And then I bought it. And then shortly after, the world went nuts and my wife didn't have a job anymore. And I was like, well, for the time being, her job got shut down. And I was like, was this the worst decision of my life? And then, because I was like, I don't know what's going to happen financially. And then I ended up getting like way more money from the government because they were giving like way extra money for people on unemployment. And I was like, well,
there you go.
I guess the government paid for the TV.
There we go.
I mean,
God
it was
bless
just
the USA. Am I right?
I couldn't even ask for less money. They just like, we signed up for the unemployment and they gave us all this extra cash. So
I'm glad it all worked out.
It all worked out.
I just I got a kick out of you. Like, I'm just saying nice ass like 18 times in a sentence, and you're just like, yeah. Just no reaction at all. You're like, yeah. Dude,
because I fucking love TVs. There's some, like recently, the past few years, I've really gotten into like this idea of like super HQ image quality. Like,
I'm scared. That's what I'm nervous of. I'm not that guy, so I'm a little nervous.
I've like flirted around this idea of like putting a few $100s aside over the next few months and buying another OLED for my office. I was like, I can't justify it. I would have to save up for that because it's not like the last TV was like, it felt like a necessity because I had a green line down the center. This would be like totally way more extra than anyone would ever need. So,
but you deserve that. You're a great person.
Do I deserve it?
Yeah.
I don't know. Deserving something in your finances, allowing it are two different things.
Hey, so just tap Colin on the shoulder, be like, "Hey, dude."
Be like, "Yo, I need this
for CLS.
A business expense. You know, just put that on the company card. Right to me, no problem."
All right. We're getting into now our most anticipated launch of the next generation of consoles. That's Demon's Souls Remake. Been a lot of details over the last week, so we're gonna drag right through them, Dustin. And
here we go.
You stop me when I've got to stop.
Sure.
Number one, character creator has been shown off, and it is much more detailed than Demon's Souls on PS3. As I'm sure you would expect, the characters in Demon's Souls 3 look quite lifeless. Gavin Moore says, to create your character as you see fit is to build an emotional connection to the world of Demon's Souls. You don't play as a muscle-bound barbarian or a mighty god, but an average person, vulnerable and familiar. Together, you will face the same fears and overcome the same challenges. Watching your beloved character die is painful, but this spurs you to take revenge re-entering battle. Each victory is even sweeter because your creation lives on. Moore adds that players will have up to 16 million permutations to pull from when creating their character in order to make it even easier to create that dream. Also, there was a little tweet in this article here. They allow you to change your teeth in Demon's Souls Remake. Change your teeth. You can have spiky teeth, it says. The creative director adds that the team is incredibly excited to see the heroes, including the weird and wonderful, you will imagine. It's important to remember that Demon's Souls is a deep, rich, single-player action RPG with seamlessly integrated synchronous and asynchronous multiplayer elements. Your custom character is someone you'll be able to show off to other adventurers around the world. That, of course, will bring us to the game's photo mode, which allows for different filters, emotes. Players can opt into hiding armor or helmets or getting rid of the player entirely, getting into a different set of poses. So, Dustin, we'll pause there. New character creator, nice little photo mode. What do you make of all of that, buddy?
I don't really care about either of those things.
Whoa, I stopped at the wrong time. I thought I had a finger on the pulse there. Okay.
Here's why.
That's why.
Everyone is wearing a helmet in this game all of the time, basically. I'm sure that there are like the fashion souls people or whatever out there, whatever you want to call it, that care a lot about that. I mean, I will spend a little time making my character look nice, but after that, it's like, I don't even really think about it. So And the photo mode thing is like, I just don't really care about these photo modes. I'm glad that they're there, and I love to see the results that people make on Twitter, but I'm not taking time to do that personally.
Yeah.
So I'm glad they're there. Not for me though.
I take like one photo in photo mode, and that's it. I think Ghost of Tsushima is the only one that got me to use it multiple times. Probably the only one that will ever have me do that, because that world is incredibly beautiful.
Yeah.
Now here's one, Dustin, I know you're pumped about. Demon's Souls PS5 has over 180 guide videos in the UI. The Demon's Souls remake will indeed take advantage of the activities bar, featuring over 180 help videos the players can choose to watch to complete sections of the game. So, Dustin, is this a good happy medium? We talked a little bit about difficulty, respecting the developers' desires to create a specific game. It was confirmed there are no difficulty settings. Now, I don't know if this means every FromSoft game, like, say, Elden Ring, would have tip videos, but do you think this is a good in-between for accessibility and pursuing a vision that the developer has in mind, that they are not compromising the original, but saying, here are help videos? Or is this a launch-specific thing, too? We should put that out there, right? Every launch game wants to take advantage of some form of bells and whistles the console provides to make it an attractive buy. Is this something we'll even see down the line? So go crazy.
So I think it's potentially going to be useful, but from experience, I've played Souls games where I've gotten stuck on a boss and I watch a guide on YouTube and it literally can't help me because it comes down to the actual playing, the gameplay. It's not like do XYZ and win boss. I mean, there's a few instances of that throughout Souls games. So I think it's good that it's there. I don't know how actually helpful it will be in this game specifically. I'm trying to think though, because like there is something special when you are playing a Souls or a Bloodborne or a Sekiro and you need to discover the mechanics of the world. I feel like that's kind of like a trademark of From Software, is that they just barely explain how some of the different mechanics and items work. And that's actually something that I like. So there could be an argument that these help videos are going to take away from some of the magic of the game. But again, you don't have to use them. So I don't know. I think it's cool. I'll be curious to see what they actually are, and how helpful they can be. So
yeah, and I'm sure I'm just sounding like a broken record. I just still worry that there will be a notification, like at some point that goes like, "Hey, you need help? You look stuck.
Hey, you're really sucking ass at this boss. You might, watch our little video here."
Yeah, like that would just be worse, man.
Yeah.
I
don't think it will do that. Sorry.
No, you're good.
I just don't know. I feel like that would be so weird if it did that. If it was like tapped you on the shoulder.
I wouldn't be surprised. Just like a little tip, like or just like not even like
just the
hey,
tip.
this particular boss is is very tough. It just more like if you never need help, remember PlayStation 5 offers tips. Press the PS button to do just like I could see it. I could see it, Dustin. The last bit of news, and we can just carry on with our discussion, is that Demon's Souls Remake is confirmed to not be using PS5 ray tracing tech. Now, I thought this was interesting because I felt it served as a pretty good kind of case study for people being able to identify how, I put in quotes, next gen a game is. Ray tracing sort of been it's definitely a thing, but I'm saying it's also been a very big buzzword in, I'd say, a lot of the marketing speak for both companies, pushing, like, if it has ray tracing, it is super next gen. I would like to make the argument that I think in a lot of ways, Demon's Souls Remake looks more next gen than games out there, and it does not have ray tracing, but just advanced lighting techniques. So you're more of the tech guy than I. What do you make of this game not having PS5 ray tracing tech? Does this, obviously it doesn't take away from any excitement or anything like that, but is there any significance to this to you?
So I can't claim this because I believe this is something that one of the guys from Digital Foundry said in one of their videos, is that we can't look at ray tracing as like, oh, this makes a game better, therefore all games need to have ray tracing. We need to look at ray tracing as another tool for developers to create their vision for their games. So Demon's Souls not having it, I don't see as like a lesser, like, oh, well, it's next gen, but it doesn't have ray tracing, right? I think we need to just look at it as far as like a decision from the developers on whether or not they want to incorporate it. Because as with any other features as far as graphics, whether it be like the sharpness of shadows or anti-aliasing or anything like that, all of these have costs. And when you're working with a console, you have a budget of your CPU and GPU, and you can choose to apply different things in order to make your game look a certain way, but you can't have everything at once. It just, there's a reality as far as what you can do and what you can't do with the budget of your system, right? So in the case of Demon's Souls, they're choosing to use that budget for different reasons, whether it be that 60 FPS mode or the more the 4K 30 mode, whatever. And ray tracing, they decided, wasn't the tool that they wanted to use to achieve the look of the game and the feel of the game. So is that a good summary?
I think
tech summary?
I don't know what I could even add on to that. That's how good your answer was. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm still excited. Like, I don't know. For me, I've never been a graphics guy. I think this generation will be a real test of that, though, right? I'm getting the TV. I am going to be messing around with the modes more. I'm going to be trying to shore up on the tech front. So maybe that does change over time. But as it stands now, like me seeing no ray tracing, I'm like, I don't care. It's an RPG. Like I want to go in and like build my character and take on bosses. And as long as it runs well, and I already know it looks super good, you know, like I don't know how you could make that game look better. So for me, I don't know. I'm good with it as it is. Especially, you know, just the things that they're refining. It feels like they're just retaining the original in the best ways. They're just saying like, okay, you know, boom, here is the character creator. You know, it's better. Like the things that need to be better are better. Having better frame rates, that type of stuff. So overall, I'm very, very excited for Demon's Souls Remake. I don't know if we can tag anything else onto that though. So shall we move on to next gen upgrades?
Oh.
So this was the section we teased a little bit during our PS5 coverage, where we were going through all the impressions, the details, all of that good stuff. Let's start off with EA, who's bringing a suite of next-gen upgrades to their titles. Apex Legends is getting a performance boost, bringing the resolution up to 1440p as the consoles launch. A more extensive list of next-gen enhancements will arrive in 2021. FIFA 21 is going to be getting improved load times and better frame rates, and that there will be details of a next-gen version ahead of its December 4th launch. This one's interesting because it's Madden, which I know has brought a lot of negative attention to itself despite selling well. But they also cite that there will be improved load times and better frame rates, so nothing really significant there. I'm surprised they didn't mention anything in the graphics department. That's a place that they were getting cranked on. Need for Speed Hot Pursuit Remastered is going to run on the PS5 like it does on the PS4 Pro, and the Series X will run it like it does on the Xbox One X. So nothing really significant there. NHL 21 also mentions improved load times, better frame rates. Sims 4, same thing. Star Wars Squadrons will run with improved lighting on the PS5 at the same resolution and frame rate as the PS4 Pro. As for the Series X, it'll be running at a better visual quality, meaning improved lighting models running at up to 2160p, 60 FPS. So, Xbox Series X is the only console right now that is running Star Wars Squadron at that level. UFC 4 is the last EA title that we're going to touch on, which is going to have improved load times and better frame rates. So, Dustin, with EA, we still have more games to go over, but with EA, anything excite you there? Anything that you kind of want to hop back into? I don't even know if you own any of those games, actually.
I have Squadrons, but not on console.
Yeah, I have it on PC.
On PC. So Yeah, nothing there particularly sticks out to me. I think just the overall messaging is exciting that we have a big publisher taking the time to go and update their games. I hope that we see a lot of that going forward. Because as I said earlier, I think it's exciting to see these old games get new life breathed into them. And I think that what I hope is a side effect of all this, Maddie, is that particularly with like Ghost of Tsushima, this is a game that is fresh in everyone's mind. Maybe they're playing the Legends mode and they're playing it at 30 FPS. And maybe this person doesn't care about frame rates, or at least they think they don't. And then they're going to go play it on PS5 and say, wow, playing this at 60 FPS is a huge difference as far as the feel and the gameplay. I'd like every game to be in 60 FPS because that's something that I've always thought is that I would rather have a game run at 60, a locked 60, than over any visual features, pretty much.
Right.
So I would love to see that be a push moving forward, and maybe something like this, seeing these games get updates, could be part of that.
Of course. Days Gone is also getting a next-gen upgrade. They said if you're taking time on, or if you're taking a ride, not time, on the Broken Road for the first time or finishing up New Game Plus, here's what you can expect when you boot up Days Gone on the PS5, which is 60 FPS with dynamic 4K, or they say up to 60 FPS. And then they say save transfers from PS4 to PS5. Additionally, Days Gone is going to be part of the PlayStation Plus collection. So if you are a PlayStation Plus member, you will have access to this game, which I was not a huge fan of it, but a lot of people do consider it a little bit of a hidden gem. So
I have a question for you, Maddie, regarding this game.
Of course.
If this game has perfect performance, which based on that Digital Foundry video, it looks like pretty much a locked 60, would that improve your view of the game? How much did the bad performance affect the review overall?
It definitely impacted it, yeah, because it didn't run well. And it was, for me, performance is always like a icing on the cake thing. If it runs really well, it's like, yes, it runs well on top of all this good stuff. If it runs poorly, it's like when it rains, it pours. In the case of Days Gone, it was when it rains, it pours. So there was a lot of fundamental issues. For me, I thought the story wasn't that great. I thought the characters weren't that great. And I felt it was way, 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 way longer than it ever needed to be. So for me, those are like things that you don't patch and fix. And
sure.
I think people will enjoy it more now, though, because a lot of my issues did boil down to I had a bunch of crashes. It did not run well. It chugged a lot. It took forever to load at times. Like it was not a great tech experience. Of course, people who played it after launch had a better experience than I did because it was patched more than what I played. And now that it's running like 60 FPS locked, I think more people will like it. But I don't know, just a zombie open world game. It's not like a State of Decay where you can just go into like a more tight world, pick it up for a handful of hours. Like this is a full experience. And I don't know. I did not like it enough still to recommend it. And I didn't hate it. It's just, it didn't really to me have any like redeeming qualities where I was like, yeah, that's something that sticks out that I could see myself going back to. So I don't know. I'd suggest people always, I'm sure you have, like just watch reviews and see if the stuff sticks out. But for me, it really wasn't the performance that made me say wait for a sale. But if you got, I mean, here's the thing, right? You got PS Plus. I know that. So maybe give it a shot, right? You literally have it now.
Right. So. Yeah, that's the thing I was thinking is that it was funny because I was like, maybe I will check out Days Gone. And I was like, dude, there's going to be so much stuff to play.
I mean, yeah, like, if you somehow like blaze through Demon Souls and Spider-Man and everything else you're playing, then maybe Days Gone might be an appealing option in my eyes.
Right.
But you'll never get to that point.
Probably not.
That's all there is to it. Other games that are getting a uptick in frame rate that I wanted to highlight in this video, this podcast, Dustin did mention one of them, was Sekiro is going to be at 60 FPS, as will the following games: The Evil Within 2, Knack, Final Fantasy 15, Hitman, Dark Souls 3, and Killzone Shadowfall. Very interesting list, I know, but still, they're worth mentioning. What is more noteworthy, as we touched on earlier, is that what is missing from this list, we have Sekiro, we have Dark Souls 3, no Bloodborne patch. Now, I feel like this could just be because they want to re-release it remember, wasn't there a rumor a while ago they wanted to remaster it and re-release it for for PC too? So
yeah, that was a rumor a few weeks ago.
Part of it, because I feel like this is a no-brainer to try to get upgraded.
Well, part of the so are you reading that from like an article?
It
somewhere?
Was citing from an article. I want to say I know it came from Shinobi 602.
Okay.
On Twitter, but it was citing an article and it was kind of like a summary.
My understanding specifically let's just specifically talk about Sekiro and Dark Souls 3 is that those games technically aren't getting any kind of PS5 patch because they have an unlocked frame rate. The way the backwards compatibility work is that it is able to take advantage of just like the raw power. And so those are getting boosted to 60 FPS without any work needing to be done by the developers. The issue with Bloodborne is that it has been locked at 30 FPS. So it is unable to take advantage of the extra juice, so to say. So the one of the really interesting things, Maddie, in that Digital Foundry video is Sekiro actually runs better than on PS5 than it does on Series X with backwards compatibility, specifically because the Series X version runs at a native 1800p, I want to say, but the PS4 version runs at a checkerboard 1800p. So because of that difference, the PS5 is able to run it at like locked 60, whereas the Series X version isn't like quite there because of it running at native. So kind of an interesting perspective. My phone for some reason was trying to talk to me. I must have said Siri or something like serious.
I didn't even hear that.
Yeah.
All right, just some next gen upgrades. And now with all the news really done for there, quick pace show here, but trust me when I say next week's show will be extremely long. Woo! So yeah, we're giving you guys a breather. We've hit you with like 3-hour episodes for like 4 weeks in a row. So we're gonna take it easy. We're gonna take our foot off the gas this week. We're gonna move into the Patron questions now, where you guys can go ahead. You can submit anything your heart desires. A limit of 2 questions per person, of course. Natural Calamity had us enforcing that rule, so you can thank him for the limit that's now been applied to all of you. So yeah, let's get things started, Dustin. Tropical Ice Cow writes in with 2 questions. The first one is, with gaming graphics improvements starting to plateau and focus more on optimization, do you think we will start to see more, less, or similar amount of remakes next generation? I feel like this conversation kind of carries off of Crash Bandicoot or Crash 4, where a lot of people were analyzing like, okay, the remasters did extremely well, like 10 million plus units sold, and obviously Crash 4 wasn't going to sell that, but it sold well, but not like close to as well, where it's more attractive to, instead of continuing the brand, just do a remake of the original because it's familiar to all, it's exciting to all because it's like this new vision on the same thing. So I feel like it's kind of a foolproof business model where you're going to see a lot more.
I think it makes sense too, considering if we're talking PlayStation specifically, just because we're now at the point that the people that were kids growing up with the PlayStation 1 are now adults. And so if you remake a game that was a kid's game for PS1, like Crash, not only will the people that played it on PS1 want to buy it, but now the new generation of kids will also be interested in it.
Yeah, the timing's right.
So, and also the fact that the kids that grew up playing Crash are now developers, and they may be working at Activision, and they may be the ones making decisions and saying, let's do this because this game was awesome. We have the chance to make it new again. And so as far as a bunch of new, I think it is likely. I mean, yeah, you brought up Crash as a great example in that they sell extremely well when they're done right. I think that Sony tried to dip their toes in this with Medieval which I don't know was the right game to do that for. I think they would have had a lot more success if they did
very safe play.
I don't know that. I feel like it would have been much more obvious to do Ape Escape. Like that to me is the obvious Sony remake from PS1 that needs to happen. But
I've never played Ape Escape, so
damn, yeah. Man, that first Ape Escape was awesome. I mean, it might be terrible playing it now, but I feel like it has huge remake potential. But yeah, I would expect more.
Okay, I agree. Number 2 from Tropical Ice Cow is, if the delay for Cyberpunk is due to current gen optimization, why isn't there any physical copies for Series X or PS5 available? And in order to avoid another delay, would they release it digitally next gen and delay current gen and physical? I think it's because most of their sales are going to come from this current gen. You don't want to... The way I look at it is clearly them pushing it back 3 weeks. They're doing these incremental, like push it back a little bit, push back a little bit, push it back a little bit. They really, I don't know what financially is implying them to do this, but they clearly want to get it out this year.
Right.
As late as possible. And the best way to do that and get as much money is to have just all versions ready one day, not a staggered release. The only time a staggered release I think is exciting is kind of what we were just talking about for the last hour. Like you got the PS4 version and it's being upgraded to PS5 in like a month or something like that, which they did state if you bought the PS4 copy like of Cyberpunk, that will upgrade for free on Series X. And I believe it's the same for PS5. So I just think it's one of those things where they want to have all of those features and offerings, which is good, available launch day. That's how at least I take it.
So hold on, I'm rereading their question here. If the delay for Cyberpunk is due to current gen optimizations, why isn't there any physical copies for Series X or PS5? To my understanding, it's still going to be next year when the actual next gen version of Cyberpunk comes out, right? Like, they've made this kind of confusing. Yeah, because tell me, this is my understanding. Okay, it was originally supposed to come out. Let's go back to when it was coming out before next gen.
I think it just clicked. I think I get where you're go on.
Yeah, it was going to come out on PS4 and Xbox One and PC. Then, when next gen launched, they said there would be next gen improvements to the game, but it wouldn't be the next gen version until later. And I'm guessing that's still the case, is that on December 10th, you will go out and you'll have to buy a PS4 or Xbox One version of those games. You pop them in. They do have still enhancements, but it's not going to be like the PS5 or Series X version. That's not supposed to come until next year still. Is that right?
Right. That sounds, that's something that went right over my head. Yeah, that sounds right. That sounds like what he's asking. Like, why are they not doing physical for those if that's the reason why? Because you're still buying the... I guess it's how it runs on current gen versions then would be my answer.
Right.
It's not the marketing of it that would hold it back or anything like that. And I think it's all the more reason why they have to stagger it, because maybe they didn't produce the boxes for it. That's a whole other bag of worms that I don't think any of us could really comment on accurately at that. We could try.
I still don't even think that game's coming out this year necessarily.
I don't think so.
More and more.
The fact that they delayed it and then went, oh, maybe. I'm just like, that's not good. That's really not good.
Yeah, the more time goes by, I'm like, something's going on. Something's happening. Mm-hmm. It's not good.
It's in some type of trouble. I have no doubt it'll be good, but it's in some type of trouble. Especially if it gets delayed again, that will be kind of a really, really bad sign.
I think the biggest thing for them is that they're probably like, damn, the PS4, the base PS4 and especially the Xbox One version of this game just aren't good. But we will make so much money if we make them good.
Yeah.
And so they're probably doing everything they can to try to make them good. And it's just, I don't know if it's possible.
It's going to be interesting, right? If they decide to delay it, I mean, that is dude, you see that yellow wall of text? Like, oh my God.
Well, a thing in that I was thinking about, in that last the meme quality, the meme level yellow card that they send out. They basically were like, this basically became a next gen game while we were making it, right?
Yeah.
And we kind of knew that for a while, and they confirmed it. And so, like I was saying, like, I just don't know if this game is going to be of quality at all on those base systems. They kind of admitted it in that letter.
Yeah. And so, like, obviously, the clear choice, the logical choice, I should say, is, hey, we should cut the previous gen and just move on with next gen. But business speak would say, fuck no, and I totally get that. That makes too much sense. Like, they would be leaving a lot of money on the table. We talked about that last week.
Yeah.
Your boy T Nasty writes in, do you think the origin system from Dragon Age will ever come back at this point? Or do you think a game like Mass Effect could ever implement this system? I don't know.
All you, Matty.
You've never played Origins at all? No?
Nope.
Okay, I got this then. So for those who don't know, Dragon Age Origins had you pick, as you probably can guess by the name, an origin story, and you'd have a different opening than other races and classes. So I think there were 6 in total, and they were all different, and the world would react to you differently based off of that. And I think now, after playing Dragon Age Inquisition to its extent, like, full game, side content, the DLC, I saw how many lines they had in the game, how much work they put into it. It's about if they want to devote their resources to that. I think it's entirely possible, especially in Mass Effect, where they limited it more to, at least in Mass Effect 3, I think it was like 3 backgrounds. The soldier or something like that. Like, there was 3 different ones. It's been a while since I played Mass Effect, but I think they could do something like that. And I always thought that was really smart of BioWare to have kind of the character, you could implement your own backstory to them and have the world react to it. I guess it's just how hardcore they want to get. Like, Inquisition was very successful, and so I don't know if they're going to deviate from that formula much outside of its gameplay systems. I think those are definitely going to be different when that game comes around, Dragon Age 4. But Origin system, I would be more hyped for that game than I would know what to do with myself. If they said, hey, we're bringing back Origins, because that is a system based in role playing. And even in Inquisition, the world really reacted to who you are. Like, I played as a Canary, so people are constantly commenting on that. I'm like, you're spending resources on reacting to me. It's just about how they do it. So I think it's really up to, of course, BioWare and how much interest they have in that. And I don't know, they've been just really, since Jade Empire, kind of dying on this sword of, like, we want to create the amazing hybrid of an action game with all the bells and whistles that are marketable for AAA while still being a hardcore RPG. And I don't know, it just doesn't work. They can't sit on the fence. They got to pick one side. And I think they're just, for now, going to pick the safer option because they're scared, because they're probably not in the best situation after multiple failed releases. This one will probably also be for me, Dustin. Brody writes in and says, do you have any interest in the Fallout Frontier mod that's being set in Oregon? Dustin, this is your wheelhouse.
I was just looking it up right now because I've never heard of this.
It looks awesome. I've covered it a lot on the channel. It's a New Vegas mod. There's vehicles in it. There is like a whole new world to explore. Huge quest line, fully voiced. I imagine, based off what I've seen, it should be out soon. It looks like it's been in development for 3-4 years now, and it looks fantastic. There's not much more to say on it. Like, the thing is with these mods is I don't sit there and like cover them as extensively as a full-on marketed video game, just because I know mods are more like passion projects, and that means they take way longer. So when they do these, like Sky Oblivion did one, or of course Fallout 4 New Vegas did one, like these big info blowouts, I'll be on top of them, but I don't follow them as meticulously for that reason. Is because, like, I just feel it puts unnecessary pressure on them. Like, they just want to make something cool. But at the same time, I want to make sure I use my platform to help promote their thing. But yeah, in answer to your question, I am excited. Dustin, after seeing what you've Googled, are you, I don't know if excited is the right word, but are you like, oh, this is nice. This is cool.
So why are they making it in New Vegas and not Fallout 4
I
engine?
think just when it started, that's where it was, and it's either go back or don't do it at all.
Right. Yeah.
There's still a huge mod fan base for New Vegas, though.
Really?
People
I guess
go
that
back.
shouldn't be surprising. It's it's so beloved by the community. So yeah, I mean, it looks cool. It looks like they put a lot of work into it. That's the one thing to me is like, I just would want it to be in the latest.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah. Which I saw you had a video about that. What is it? Fallout 3 in Fallout 4. Oh no, the New Vegas. That's it.
Yeah. I mean, there is Fallout 3 and Fallout 4 as well. The Fallout 4 Capital Wasteland mod, and then there's Fallout 4 New Vegas, and both of those are remaking Fallout 3, Fallout 4. I'm sorry, Fallout 3 in Fallout 4 and Fallout New Vegas in Fallout 4. Which, you know, the New Vegas one is the most recent look we've had at it. Oh my god, it looks so good. It looks so good, man.
It's intriguing.
Yeah, it really is. I said in my video, how does Bethesda look at this and go like, yeah, no, we don't want to do this. Like,
yeah,
it blows my fucking mind, man. It really does. I get the idea you want to make something new, but holy shit, like, I feel like they just do it because it keeps people interested in their company. They're just like, yeah, if we don't do this, people will keep talking about us. The second we give up a New Vegas remake or cough out a Fallout 3 one, it's over for us. We've given them exactly what they want.
That's right.
All right. It's everyone's favorite, my fat cock, who writes in. As we close this generation, what game do you think many people did not play that they should play? A game?
I think have we talked about this on this show before?
We talked about.
We may have answered. I have the same answer of what I think one of the most underrated games this generation is, and that is
go for it.
Dishonored 2.
I do remember that answer.
Yeah, I mean that, and I feel like a lot of people I think now a lot of people have played Nier Automata. Like, I think when it launched, a lot of people skipped it, and then the word really got out that it was incredible. I mean, that happened to me. I didn't play it at launch. I think everyone was too obsessed with Breath of the Wild and Horizon at the time.
I was playing Persona at the time.
Oh.
Yeah, I was playing Persona. That was an amazing 2 months. It was back to back. I think Nier was in March, and then Persona was in April.
Okay. Yeah, I do remember that now.
Mm-hmm.
Damn, that was a good few months. I think I would, if we had to argue what was the best year for this generation, I think it was probably 2017.
I'm trying to think.
Persona, Nier,
what else came out?
Horizon Zero Dawn.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. I have to look at this. Because I remember clearly thinking, okay, Breath of the Wild, Horizon Zero Dawn, Mario Odyssey, Resident Evil 7, Nier, Cuphead, Wolfenstein 2.
Wow.
Prey was that year, Destiny 2, Hellblade, Divinity Original Sin 2.
Oh, fuck. Okay.
Wow. Uncharted Lost Legacy, Splatoon, Shadow of War.
Nah.
Yeah. Nah. But yeah, either way, I mean, Pyre was that year, dude.
Oh my, wow, yeah, that was a good year for games. Yeah,
Death of the Outsider. Damn, there was a lot of good stuff that year. SteamWorld Dig 2, also very good.
I think a game that many people did not play, they should play. I'm gonna, now that you brought it up, shout out Pyre. That is $20.
Pyre,
Supergiant Games.
Yeah,
very good game. Highly recommended. Highly recommended. Lots of choices in it too, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. So, you know, if you like a little role playing, it's not really a role playing game, but there are story choices you can make, and the ending sequence is incredible. The gameplay is very unique. It's kind of like a sports title, kind of arcadey, but it's accessible. It's not like you're playing baseball or something. But I was thinking of what was on my head? I guess it doesn't matter. Because that was a fine enough answer. Next comes from Kirk Solaris, Chat Narakami. We've reached the end of an era and a new one begins. That's very epic of you. So, what has been your favorite console generation, and which console is your favorite of all time?
That is difficult. I feel like it has to be two categories almost, like which one do I have the most nostalgic connection to? Because I feel like we can all agree like the best games have been on this generation, the current one with PS4 and Xbox One.
Yeah, games only get better. Like,
right.
It's like I have a very strong attachment. Like my answer would probably be my favorite generation, or my favorite console of all time is the PS2 because I have a lot of nostalgia for that. That or the Vita, honestly. I know it's like a meme, but like I adore my Vita so much. And I have a lot of great memories on it, and it's such a unique console, but it feels so good to use. But probably the PS2 because of nostalgia. But yeah, like I'd say my favorite console generation was the PS4. It was just like in the Xbox One, it was just a gift that kept on giving. Like you saw as we ended the PS3 generation with like the trifecta of GTA, BioShock, and The Last of Us, I was like, wow. You know, it sucks that we're here at the end and then we're going to have to restart and kind of get our feet wet and then get running again. And we kind of picked it up really quickly. 2014 was like the worst year for gaming. But after that, 2015 was off to the races and gaming was really good from that point forward. I don't think this generation, the PS5, is going to have that. Like, I don't think 2021 is going to be that kind of skip in the heartbeat of the gaming generation like we saw with 2014 and PS4. I just don't think that's going to happen.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. This one is hard. Like I feel like I have such strong nostalgic memories with so many consoles. Like PlayStation 1 was so revolutionary feeling coming from like Sega Genesis, which is what I played before PS1.
Wow.
And like I remember the Christmas that I got a PlayStation 2, and it was one of those Christmas gifts that's like, it wasn't even the realm of possibility in your mind of getting it. Mm-hmm. And that just made it all the more amazing when it happened. So it's really hard for me to say what my favorite is. I just have so many good memories. And the 360, I mean, that's like the defining console of my teenage years. Like Xbox Live and playing Call of Duty and Halo 3. Man, Halo 3 on Xbox Live was like awesome.
Every console carries its own set of memories when you really think about it. They all, for me at least, symbolize like a period in my life. Like PS2, I was, just a little kid, and I remember like playing, like I think of like playing with action figures, going to my Game Boy, like that's how I think of it. And then like 360, like you said, teenage years, man. That was my social tool. Like that's where plans were made. That's where all conversations happened, from like, bro talks to jokes, and then just everything, man. Amazing.
Dude, I remember going to like Xbox Live parties to like talk to one of my friends about like him breaking up with his girlfriend or something.
That's what I'm saying, dude.
It was like, oh, we're dudes, we don't talk on the phone. No way. But Xbox Live party chat, hell yeah.
Dude, for
it's
real,
so stupid.
Like, for those who have been OGs of the show, me and Noah always like joke that we used to like just talk about like, man, I hate that like I'm single right now or something like that in high school. Like we get on the party chat and just complain about our lives.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's ridiculous, man. But yeah, like each console, I don't know what I would say PS4 defines. I guess like as I ascend into adulthood, maybe like that was kind of it.
Right.
Young adulthood, and just like how my career is really attached to it more so. Because when that's what happened is someone posted a comment, I think it was on a stream I did, and they were just like, what is it like looking at the beginning of the generation? Or I think maybe it was a podcast question. It was one of the two. Like looking at your career at the beginning of the generation and now where it is here at the end, and then what it's going to be like of course we know what it's at the beginning of this coming generation and what it's going to be like at the end of that. It's like, wow, so much has changed between the beginning of the PS4 and the end of it. And so much can change now between the beginning and end of PS5. It's like, that's exciting.
Dude, that's such a funny point to bring up, because I got interested in the games industry at the launch of PS4, really, as far as going beyond just like liking games, right? Being wanting to know more. And so like on the like PS4 subreddit before that came out, I was getting more interested, and I was like, I've started to dabble in podcasts. I should find a PlayStation podcast. That's where I listened to Beyond for the first time, which like listening to that show completely changed what I wanted to do, basically. Not just that show, but it was a big part of it in the fact that I decided that I was like, I don't want to go into film anymore. I want to be in the games industry. I don't know what that looks like. And that's where my pivot began.
The host of the show.
And now, Colin, and he's now my boss. So it's like a really weird thing to think about it in that context.
It's so wild to think about. Steve Wolf writes in, so I had pre-ordered the Cyberpunk Collector's Guide along with the game. Amazon still says that the guide is coming out the 19th. Do you think I will receive it then? And do you guys buy game guides or any collector type items with games? I honestly don't really use guides, but I find them pretty interesting to look through. In the terms of collector's items beyond just guides, I usually wait until after the game is out to see if it will actually be good or not. But of course, by then, typically, if the game is good, collector's editions and whatnot are usually sold out. So do you pick up any collector's items or guides? I am not a strategy guide type of guy. I have my Oddworld Munch's Odyssey strategy guide still from when I was a kid. It's a Prima guide. It's fucking torn to shreds just from being thrown in this. I can see it in my head now. This basket of magazines just get tossed in there. But with the internet, I am surprised strategy guides, collector's guides are still a thing.
Yeah. So I'm not into guides really at all. And I really never have been. Like growing up, I had the Kingdom Hearts and the Kingdom Hearts 2 strategy guide, but I didn't need them. I just wanted more Kingdom Hearts products. Mm-hmm. And I like to, they could be helpful to get like the Dalmatians or whatever, something like that. I do have the Tomba 2 guide downstairs on display.
Oh my
I'll have to take a picture of that and send it to you. So that was something that someone gave me.
3 comments from last week?
Dude, I got a couple tweets and I saw some in the comments, Matty. So I don't know if it was 3 though. I'm gonna have to verify that.
I did see 2 tweets. So actually now I think about it, I saw a comment. So you did succeed.
I did. That's right. So I'm gonna take that as a win. But now I'm like every once in a while I can go for an art book. Like I have the Persona 4 and the Persona 5 art book, which is apparently really rare now, like and really expensive.
Persona 5s?
Yeah.
Really? I have it just sitting there on my shelf.
So the Persona 5, the Art of Persona 5 on Amazon, paperback, $200 used. So
wow. I mean,
that's not how much I paid for it.
The Persona 5 guidebook reminds me of the time I got really upset with my puppy, Revan.
Oh, yeah.
I remember I went under my bed for something. I think I was looking for a weight, actually. And I hit this box, and I'm like, this feels cardboardy. No, I don't put cardboard on here. I slide the box out, and there's my Persona 5 collector's box from the collector's edition of the game. Very nice. Got a nice little magnetic thing that lets it close. And there's a nice chewed hole in the top.
Oh,
in
no.
the corner. Revan got to it, and and what's amazing is he'd been under my bed a couple of times in the past when we first got him, and I got him pretty quickly each time. He must have gotten under there at some point. I had no clue, and he destroyed what is probably a multi-$100 box now.
Damn. Yeah. It's weird. Those some of these collector's editions can go like way up in value afterwards.
I'm surprised about that art book. It doesn't really have that much in it.
Yeah. Well, no,
really weird.
It's so there's 2. There's the one that comes with the game, which is the one that came in that box. This is like a much bigger, chunkier art book.
Oh, that's what you have?
Yeah. Which, looking on eBay now, it looks like it's selling for around $75, which is still more than I paid for it. But
yeah, $200.
I have a Bloodborne art book too, which is really nice.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Something with Amazon and like anytime I had this experience that I don't trust Amazon anymore when it comes to buying something from like a third party. I bought Wolverine's Revenge for the PS2, $5. They took my $5, Dustin. Maddie never got Wolverine. I never got my game. And so I contacted support, contacted them, nothing. And so since then, that was 2014, I have never bought something from a not like an official company off of Amazon.
Right. Yeah. I will say, Maddie, though, I am like more and more become a sucker for game merchandise, not collector's editions, but like I have an amiibo collection that is gotten way out of hand.
Oh.
Like I'm surprised I haven't shown this. I have like dozens and dozens of amiibos.
Really?
Yes.
I don't have a single one.
Yeah. So I don't have the entire Smash collection, but I definitely have most of them.
Wow.
And
that's probably expensive now.
Yes. Yeah, it's definitely like I have them all. I was trying to bring up, there's a website called pricecharting.com, which you can basically put in your entire collection. And it was like, it made me sick, making me realize how much money I've spent on amiibos over time, which not all of them have been full price, but most of them have been. And I like somehow now have like a little bit of a video game plushie collection.
Oh,
that I didn't really mean to start, but now I have like a whole shelf, and every once in a while I'll get something.
Yeah, see, I get the plushies because I kind of fell into that when I was traveling. I'd go to like E3, and I remember buying a Alolan Sandshrew, and I love Sandshrew. It's one of my favorite Pokemon.
Of course.
So I bought that, and then at E3 the following year, they for some reason had a Sly Cooper plush, and I was like, well, I got to show them that they got to make a new Sly Cooper game. So I bought that. So I have that. Like, I've just accidentally built up this little plushie collection myself of, just a handful. I used to have Chie, but Revan got the Chie as well.
No, dang it. Revan sounds like, a little bit of a troublemaker.
Oh, yeah. When we first got him, oh, my God. He destroyed everything I loved.
Damn.
Except my heart.
I'm trying to find, because when I was at E3, I got a Last Guardian plush of Trico, and it's now like insanely rare. Like, I just searched on eBay Trico Last Guardian plush, and it's just there are none available.
You can set the market. Sell that shit for $500.
I'm trying to
someone bites.
I'm trying to find one on eBay, but the problem, I think it's one of my absolute favorite plushes that I have now at this point. So I could never part with it. Maybe if, like I hit hard times, I'm about to be like kicked out on the street.
Yeah.
Maybe
you buy a TV and you're wondering if that was the deadly decision. You buy that TV for your
office. The 48-inch LG CX is what puts me out on the street. But hey, at least I got HDR,
Exactly.
And no electricity.
Red Eyes White Wolf writes in. This is for us, Dustin.
Okay.
After some thought, I have decided to take your guys' advice and zero in on Best Buy this Black Friday to pick up a copy of Persona 5 Royal and make it my winter break game. For those who don't know, last week, Red Eyes White Wolf had wrote in asking if the changes for Persona 5 Royal were significant enough to decide to go for that instead of the base game. I will play this game in its entirety. If it creates amazing gaming memories for me, you will know. If this game becomes the bane of my existence, you will also know. Now for my question this week. What are you guys' thoughts on next-gen fidelity and performance modes? Personally, I feel underwhelmed by them, and I feel I would have dilemmas when deciding which to choose when playing a game for the first time. See, I'm a default. Like, I will default the frame rate, get my feet wet, get in on the action, play the game, and then when I'm in that comfort zone, I'll switch. That's what I plan on doing. Like Demon Souls Remake. First game that's going to my PS5, right? I will start off frame rate. I will get through the first boss or two, and then I will change once I'm pacing a little bit, right? I want to, because I'm gonna definitely make a video on the game in general, like impressions. So I want to make sure I test things out. But generally, as a consumer, it's just down to it's as simple as personal taste. Do you like smoothness or do you like nice, beautiful looking environments? I mean, I don't know. Hopefully one day we get both. We get nice 64K. That's why I got that HDMI 2.1.
Well,
that's what I want.
what's really interesting specifically about Demon Souls is that what we've seen so far is the performance mode in those videos because they're 60 FPS.
That is true.
We have not seen what the fidelity mode is like, and honestly, what we've seen looks so good. So, in a game like that, though,
or that unannounced PC that port that they like had in the trailer, and then they took out and put back up. I'm like, imagine that's why it's 60 FPS.
Yeah. But a game like that, though, I'm definitely playing it at 60 the whole time, for sure.
All right. Natural Calamity writes in. I see four questions, Dustin.
What?
4 questions.
I can't believe this. Do we take them all since it's just you and I? But then we break our rule that we made with Natural Calamity.
I think we take 2. We stay strict with Natural.
Okay.
We'll see, though.
Okay.
Before my questions, I just want to say thanks for taking my bullshit week in and week out. I suddenly feel
You're
bad,
welcome.
Dustin. I have never really had a group or a clan where I feel accepted like on H.A.M, and it really helped my mental health and helps me get through the week. Well, it's our pleasure.
We're so mean, though. That's the
yeah.
It's a joking mean. It's a loving.
I was about to say, like,
kidding around, but
it's the same way we all treat each other. Me, you,
right,
Karak.
Right.
Just we cook each other up, but it's obviously like we like each other. He says, I look forward to H.A.M Radio Podcast, and it's what I wake up for in the morning. Thank you all from the bottom of my heart. Aw, very, very nice.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're happy to serve.
Yeah, for sure, man. We'll read all 4 of his questions if we're his purpose in the morning, right? It's the least we can do this time.
Just this time. That's right.
Just this time.
Don't get any ideas about next week.
Yeah, if you come back, because you got to remember, Karak's not here. Karak will tell you to fuck yourself.
That's right.
So just keep that in mind, man. You're dealing with the nice guys here. All right. 1, what game series would you want to have the same fluidity of the Warhammer 40K series? I would have to say Halo. They do have an element of this with Halo Wars, but more pronounced. I want 20 different games in that universe, all with their little differences, opening up the world. I would say Pokemon.
Oh.
They kind of touched on that a little bit. You know, they did Ranger, they did Conquest, they've done Mystery Dungeon, the base games, of course. They've done spin-offs, but I would like to see like a Pokemon beat 'em up.
Okay.
I'd like to see a full-fledged, like, I know Pokemon's say it with me, Dustin, like an RPG, but I want like a real true RPG. I want builds and all that stuff. I mean, also got a fighter with Pokken Tournament. That wasn't my favorite, but I feel like Pokemon is a franchise I would like to see, like the Horde mode, just like the spin-offs on spin-offs. Because if you read the manga, I've started reading some Pokemon manga because I've been on a little kick. It gets dark. And like you can feel the impact a lot more. Yeah, I'm dead serious, man. There is actually one clip from a manga where Arbok gets cut in half.
Holy shit.
Right?
What is going on in this Pokemon manga, dude?
Yeah, dude, it's fucking wild. It's like, it just, I don't know, it brings it to life in a different way. And also like when they're fighting, you know, usually because the animations are so fucking shitty in the core series right now. So you just see them kind of do like a little bit of this for tackle. But like when you see them actually like hitting each other, it's like, dude, they fuck each other up. And yeah, I'm excited for Temtem on a side note. But anyway, what game do you want to see just have spin-offs and build that world and go crazy with it?
Man, this is a hard question. I feel like Pokemon, which you're right that we have seen some of that. I guess just that the gut reaction that I'm thinking, I'm like, we really just want a good mainline Pokemon game. At least when I think about that, is that it's like we just want the Ni no Kuni battle system in a Pokemon game and make it a true console.
Yes, that is so perfectly put. Holy shit.
Experience. So maybe that's the root of that. I feel like Halo is a good option as well, which he's right. Like Halo Wars was really cool and a different way to experience that world. And I don't know. I'm drawing a blank here.
Let's see here. Let's see if I can think of one for you. Because you got to think of something like prominent that really hasn't been super explored.
Is there like in the Fallout world, like What if we got a new Fallout Tactics game?
Yeah,
Or
see, that would be cool. I think. See, the thing is with Fallout, it's hard because they had a beat 'em up way back called Brotherhood of Steel.
yes,
I like the game, but I like it because it's like history. I don't like it. Like if that came out now, I'd be like, what the fuck? But the thing, I used to speculate all the time, like, oh, imagine if there was this thing in Fallout called the Resource Wars, where before like the actual Great War broke out, they were fighting for like parts of the world. And I was like, oh, make a first-person shooter campaign like that. But then like, is that even Fallout or is that just like Call of Duty campaign, right? It's like Fallout's so hard to spin off of because you're always in like nowadays you're either in first or third person. Whereas like, I just feel like Pokemon, there's an attachment to the world. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Elder Scrolls is one that I think doesn't get enough spin-offs. I don't know. I feel like the spin-offs that they've done have just made no sense. I feel like they could do something.
You're not a big
like
Blades fan?
No, sadly not. Sadly not.
No.
Question 2. With open world games over the past few years, the worlds have been getting bigger and bigger, but I'm starting to see a dip. My question is, do you see open worlds continuing to grow to the size of, let's say, Daggerfall's map, or do you see worlds starting to get smaller and more dense with content in the next few years? So for those who don't know, Daggerfall's map is like insane. Pretty sure it's the size of the UK or something like that. Like, it is insane. I don't think you're going to see it unless it's like a No Man's Sky kind of procedural generation. But I think Miles Morales will be a good kind of test run on maybe where some open worlds on next gen will go. Because from what we read a little bit, it seems like it's tighter. It's still the same size as New York City, but New York City wasn't that large in Spider-Man PS4. Like, not this like you're kind of at the top of the mountain in Skyrim. You're like, holy shit. It's a big world, but not super big. But it's more dense in content and distractions. And I think that's better because you're doing consistently fun things for maybe 20 hours rather than like 80 hours of just trekking.
Right. Yeah, I think that I would prefer either not necessarily density, but more interesting open worlds over just bigger. Because we've seen games like Final Fantasy 15 that have these huge maps, but it's like, why? You know, like so much time spent driving around. And I think that's something that, to Bethesda's credit, they've done a really good job in the fact that, like, when you're playing Fallout, going from A to B is usually interesting things happen. And I like, or in Skyrim, how it's like the journey there, you may encounter something interesting, whether you fight some dudes or whatever, or just the sense of discovering a new area. Ghost of Tsushima, I think, also had a good level of density, especially in the way that they designed the game around the quiet moments of travel, right? Just making it as beautiful as possible. So yeah, it's a delicate balance as far as, you know, making your world big, but also fun to get around. Another example that I think they kind of screwed up was Rage 2, where it's like you're driving and then you have like a really fun FPS type experience where you're at one location and then you have to drive again to the next. It really broke up the feel of that game to me.
I get why people feel that way. I liked it because then the car combat was fun to me.
Right.
And I also liked, for me, I didn't have this with Eternal. So maybe it was just Doom 2016, but at the time we didn't have Eternal. But with Doom 2016, I hated how like in your fucking face it was to some extent, that just, it didn't feel fun. Where I liked Rage's pacing. But now Doom Eternal feels more perfected, where if I went back to Rage 2, I wonder how I would feel about it. But I get what you're saying with that. Yeah. It kind of just boils down to the content that's there, right? Like, I could spend 100 hours in a world if the content's good, but it's just about that, like, quality. Question 3. We're going past number 2 here. Do you think we will see a lot of Watch Dogs' play as anyone system in the other games coming in the? I'm sorry, I misread that completely. Do you think we will see a lot of the Watch Dogs play as anyone system in other games in upcoming years? Will it be a thing everyone wants to try and replicate for their open worlds, seeing how well it went for Watch Dogs Legion and how much improvement there can be? See, here's the thing: is we all said that about the Nemesis system.
I was gonna say that, dude.
Right?
I was thinking the same thing.
Everyone said that, and then it didn't happen. So I don't know, man. I think here's the thing: is it took Ubisoft. They put as someone who played the game to completion and has completed most of the map, they put so much time into that technology that they kind of struggled to put in like a lot of meaningful content. I thought it was fun to play, but it wasn't very meaningful content. So I think it's very hard for a company just to replicate that unless they are like in-house. You might see other Ubisoft games have that, like The Creed. They'll make a game called The Creed, and it's an Assassin's Creed game with all these different members you can recruit to your creed. I wouldn't be surprised at all. But yeah, man, when it comes to other companies, I doubt it. I think it's very hard to construct.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? Maybe the Creed could just be a game based on the band Creed. That would be a big left turn, but I mean, I would check it out. But
I would too.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that, tell me if this is correct. My impression overall, the feeling about Watch Dogs Legion is that people think the system is really intriguing and well done in a lot of ways, but it did lose something in the fact that you didn't have like a main character. Yeah. So I think it would be cool to see some other companies dive into this idea of being able to recruit new playable characters, but also keep the core of the story around a main character. Obviously, that's probably difficult and probably why they moved in the direction that they did. But I think there's potential for sure.
Yeah, I think the issue with that game is that the cutscenes just get ruined. The dialogue gets ruined because they don't know who they're talking to.
Right.
You know, like they don't know if they're talking to the hitman or whoever, and like what is the dialogue going to be like, and they have to have them all sound different. It was tough what they did, so it's very impressive, but yeah, it gets stuck at times. Question 4, the last one, comes from Natural Calamity. Since 2013, with the release of the Xbox One, as a Xbox gamer, it has been nothing but hardship, crying every night, wishing Xbox would have their time in the limelight. But this year, I feel this is the first year Xbox is really coming into its own. I can be proud to be an Xbox gamer again, and I can look a PlayStation fanboy in the eye and say, I am proud of my Phil Spencer overlord, and I respect the man. So, my question is, after all that ranting, do you see Xbox staying the course, or do you see an exec walking into a room saying, let's make the Kinect 2, ruining all they have worked so hard for? I think Xbox is, as long as Phil Spencer's in charge, I think you're going to keep seeing more of what they're doing here, which is spending, value, Game Pass, that type of stuff. I feel like you're going to just continue to see that because I think they're not, obviously Microsoft as a whole, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like they just have a pot of cash to pull out of. I doubt when Phil Spencer signs that check for Bethesda, it's the Xbox division's check. I imagine it's Microsoft's check, right? So I feel like they're just going to keep kind of dipping into that for Game Pass and stuff because Microsoft as a whole is profitable. So it doesn't matter. I don't want to say it doesn't matter how profitable Xbox is, but as long as the company in general is afloat, and I know Xbox, we already know they're doing fine, so they can take these risks. They have that financial backing. So I feel like you're going to continuously see, like, all I'm saying is I'm sure next week, like, you're going to see something big get added to Game Pass. Like a big subscription, something along those lines. That wouldn't surprise me in the slightest, just because it's the week of the new consoles, get people hyped to fire that bad boy up, like they're going to roll in something. I can see that.
I think that in a few years, maybe even not even that, Xbox first party is definitely going to be a force to reckon with. I think that the timing is not on their side with this release cycle. Like, there's no Xbox first party game for the Series X launch. And I think that that's probably a damper for some people. I know it is affected my decision as far as buying one or not. I mean, also the fact that their first party is on PC is a big factor for me, but even then, like, so I think that once we start to see these games that are in development start to come out, whether it's Halo Infinite or whatever, Obsidian, the games Obsidian is working on, what is it? They're
Avowed.
Yeah. Or man, I'm really blanking on names right now. The space game that I said I didn't really like.
Space game that you said you didn't like.
From Obsidian. Outer Worlds.
Outer Worlds 2.
Outer Worlds 2, which I think, dude, it's funny. And I said this before. Outer Worlds 2, I'm very much looking forward to that. Just because there were so many good ideas in the first one. So, yeah, I think that Xbox is like totally primed to have an awesome generation with a lot of excellent exclusive games. It's just like I said, the timing for their launch didn't work out for when these games come out.
Yeah, it'll be exciting. I think that, what they're doing is smart because I think they're getting a lot of people to look, and those who are in the ecosystem are happily diving in, and you can just dive in through Game Pass if you just wanted to. But they have a lot of people looking their way. I am in the same boat. I bought an Xbox One at launch over a PS4, and then it just became a dust collector over time just because, it was few and far between. I was really picking it up to get some use, and the third party was better on PlayStation 4. And I think this time around it's going to be really interesting to see where both consoles fall because they're both extremely powerful. Obviously, Series X is pushing that a little bit more. But still, I think it's going to be a really competitive generation, and that means you're going to continue to see Microsoft really push because I don't think they're ever going to forget what happened at the beginning of Xbox One. That literally put them down in a hole that they could not get themselves out of for until what now? Like 7 years later, they've really kind of come around. I'd say, more like last year we started to see that with Game Pass, but it took a while, and they had to really over deliver on value to the point where it feels like you're stealing from them for them to be like, okay, you accept us now? Yes. Like, thank you.
Right.
So I think you'll see that continuous over delivery on value. All right. Mac the Knife writes in with 2 questions. 1, since Bethesda Game Studios has their hands full with Starfield and Elder Scrolls 6, unfortunately, that leaves the potential for a Fallout 5 just sitting on the table for who knows how long. If Microsoft was to designate one of their first-party studios, not named Obsidian, to develop Fallout 5, which studio would you love to see take a shot at it, and why? Dustin, I think we have the same answer for this.
Not Obsidian, though.
In Exile.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Led by Brian Fargo. That is all I have to say there. You got the father of Fallout sitting right there in another studio. That's the thing. I'm curious to see what exactly Fallout's going to end up like, because we now know based off job listings in Exile's doing a first-person shooter. Next-gen first-person shooter.
Oh, very interesting. I didn't know that.
Unreal Engine, but first-person shooter. Unreal Engine 5. But first-person shooter. So I don't know, man. It's possible that they could just be doing a Fallout game there. I don't know, though. I don't know why Bethesda would let them off the creation tech. But
maybe it's not their decision.
That'd be really cool.
Since, I mean, right now, I guess the deal is still pretty fresh, so I don't know if they could be.
Technically, the deal hasn't even, technically, Xbox doesn't even own Bethesda right now.
Right.
It has to get approved legally first or something like that, and then they are officially owned. So right now it's still Bethesda's call. So really speaking, it's definitely neither of them are working on it. But I think in the future, one of those two has to be a part of Phil's play. Like, it's too obvious.
Right.
Question 2: What pet peeves do you have that? What pet peeves do you have that people do that drive you up a wall? For me, it's when you are eating with someone and they decide to shove their finger in their mouth to clean out or remove food after the meal, especially when they floss it around in their mouth as if their finger was a toothbrush. It makes me cringe so hard and I have to look away or I'll get nauseous. So I like to imagine where Mac was when this came to mind, that he came to our show to submit this, that he was so aghast. He was like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
Is there a pet peeve like that for you?
Yes.
What?
Yeah. My number one pet peeve in my life is mouth noises of all kinds.
Really?
Whether it's a loud eater. It's mostly loud eating, actually. It's the most part, which is like one of the rules for me is like anyone eating on a podcast needs to be removed from podcasting permanently. I can't stand that. Like hearing it's it sucks too, because I have actually looked at, like, I've done a little research on this, and it's actually like a diagnosed thing that people can have, that there's something in your brain that mouth noises straight up enrage you. Like,
really?
Yeah. And some people even, like, this sounds so mean, but some people with the way they talk, if there's a lot of like at the beginning of when they say, that can start to like trigger that in my brain.
Oh my God, that's definitely my mom, because I do that sometimes, and she's definitely.
I haven't noticed you do it. So
sometimes, like when I take a breath, like my tongue will just stick to the top of my mouth, and I go like that, and it'll just it'll kick off. Sorry, I might have just bothered you. Right
No,
there.
no.
I did
we're actively talking about it, so it's fine. You know, no big
it's
deal.
out in the air.
But yeah, it's especially eating, and it sucks because a lot of people, like, you're like, it will like enrage me, and especially if it's like family members, but it's like they're not trying to hurt me.
Yeah.
But
the worst is when, for me, it's loud chewing. Oh my God. Yeah. When I'm like sitting there eating my food, and I just hear someone in their own planet just like eating like no one's around, and I'm just like, come on. And like I'll say something, be like, yo, and they're like, what? And I'm like, are you serious? You didn't hear that? It's like,
dude,
like my dad especially, just loud, like,
oh dude, I've figured out ways that I can like combat it, because I like don't want to be an asshole. So like one thing, because my dad's the same way, very loud eater, that I will either like turn on some music or something, or something that can kind of block some of it out. And the thing is, like, some of it's completely natural. Like, I'll be sitting on the couch watching something, and my wife will sit down, and if she's eating something loud, like crunching on chips, which is totally normal to do, she doesn't do anything wrong, but like I will just like subtly get up and move to like the other seat or something, just because I'm like, it is better for me to just remove myself than to say anything. Yeah. I try to fix myself.
Sounds like a man who's been in a lot of battles with loud chewing before.
Yes.
Babe, shut the hell up. You're chewing way too loud.
Dude, well, and the problem is that there's always some hypocrisy. No one can eat completely silently. Nobody. You can try, and like I am try to be the absolute quietest eater because of that.
Oh, but that reminds me. I try to eat so quiet that sometimes I guess I don't realize it, but I'll hold my breath, and you'll start hearing me going like that. Just like, and my mom's like, breathe. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And so like, dude, it's like, there's something wrong with everybody at this point. It's like, I'm the same fucking way. I just don't breathe, I guess.
Yeah. So we all have our demons, and mine is chewing and mouth noises.
You remove yourself from that situation. Something I'm not capable of doing. I have to make my side comments.
Oh, sometimes it's unbearable, and you have to.
Yeah, like there's times where you're not in the mood, and you hear just the chewing across the room, and you're like, damn it, come on.
Let me see. So like I said, this is like a diagnosed thing. There's a Wikipedia page. Misophonia, meaning the hatred of sound. Now, some people actually have like a neurological condition that they'll like freak out. Obviously, I don't have that. Like I can deal. It's just like a unfounded rage can bubble within me in certain scenarios. That's so funny. It's very strange. So I guess we should just leave it at that.
Yeah. Next submission comes from Coach Blue, but it is entirely for Karak about Crusader Kings 3, so we can't really touch on that, but I will read your side note, Coach Blue, which says, appreciate all the grinding y'all are doing to get us awesome reviews with so many games coming out. I'm interested in and with limited funds. Your videos are super helpful. Have a great weekend. Thank you for that, Coach Blue. And we will double back next week. Make sure to double post, and we will catch up with you next week with all the next gen needs. Horse of Fire writes in, will you have a tips and tricks video of new games coming out for Series X on Xbox, Matty, or only reviews of games? I I mean, I guess that's like standard games technically, because right now they, as Dustin said, they don't have any exclusives. So for me, really, it's just like I don't really do tips and tricks videos anymore. I feel like discussion's my forte. If I get advanced access, like I did say for the Outer Worlds, where I was doing builds and stuff for that, like hell yeah, I'll go in like that. Maybe I'll do something like that for Demon Souls Remake. I feel like that could be a sneaky, successful game for my channel because it is a next-gen RPG, and I feel a lot of people want to know stuff about that. So I'll try to be on top of that. But when it comes to Series X, I don't have any plans for that. Especially that thing's been, people have had that shit for a month now. Like it's been just covered to death. It's kind of unattractive to cover currently as just someone hopping in on launch day because who the hell isn't? I guess a lot of people technically, but you get my point.
Right.
More people have access. Paco Luigi writes in, what do you consider your co-host's best qualities? Everybody answer, please. Hashtag ham trifecta. Hashtag bromance. Oh, man.
Bromance. Whoa.
I would love to get Karak's take on this. We gotta come back to this question next week, too. I obviously will answer it now, but I'm saying
right.
I got to know what Karak thinks is our best qualities. Because just sometimes I feel like Karak fucking can't stand me.
Really?
Yeah, like obviously jokingly, but like I just feel like I challenge him. I'm on his shit. I'm asking a ton of questions. I wonder if like he's just like, Matty, there's nothing great about you. Like I just love to hear what he thinks.
I don't get that impression at all. I feel like when I hear Karak and when I see him speak of you, I feel like I get this vibe that he has the utmost respect for you.
Really?
Yeah, that's.
I mean, I'm kidding. I love Karak dearly, so you know.
Right.
But I feel like I'm just this. I'm 25. You know, he's like, what is he, like 40 something?
Right.
I'm just this young kid, just barking up his tree constantly. Just, hey Karak, hey Karak, hey Karak.
Yeah.
Give me your guidance, Karak. All right, for Dustin.
Oh.
Your best quality.
A lot of pressure.
Yeah, because see, the thing is, you have a lot of great qualities, Dustin.
Oh,
this is great. This is great. I would say, I really appreciate this in anyone, but I appreciate your determination to always take on more, to reach out and never limit yourself. You know, I remember, what was it? It was when I announced Extra Slice of Ham, we hung up and you like instantly called me and were like, I'm trying to do more. Like if you need me on at all, just give me a ring. You're always available. You're like an incredibly good friend. I just think, yeah, like I love that you've already improved our show, obviously by being here, but like helping on the audio front, getting me in contact with Ben. You know, you care about the shit you work on. And that's really rare nowadays, especially in the games industry where people just see it and go like, I want to play games to get paid. And it's like, well, it's not that simple. So I just admire your work ethic a shit ton. And it's
thank you.
Really, it's really something that I admire a ton. Can't emphasize that enough.
Damn. Well, thanks. I appreciate that.
Yeah,
that's the thing is that anything I'm a part of, I want to try to make as good as possible. So I'm glad that that's something that you've.
And I should emphasize, like, when you came onto our show or when I talked to you about CLS, it's not like a perfectionist kind of like approach. You have very delicate, which is the other thing, right? There are people who clearly work hard, but to a perfectionist standpoint, which I don't always reach for because I feel like you kind of lose something in that.
Right.
Which is the other thing. You've kind of let our show almost be this imperfect beast while making it better.
Right.
Which I appreciate a ton.
Right. Yeah. So let's see. I'll start with Karak first.
Oh, boy.
I love that Karak is no bullshit, period.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he is very much a man of the people through and through.
An American hero.
And I think that's what makes the dynamic of the three of us really great is that I think you and I are a little bit, I don't want to say we buy the hype. That's not the right way to put it.
I'd probably be the hype buyer on this show. I think that's just kind of my brand. It's
like a nice like gradient between me, you, and Karak of like, Karak is not willing to give any bones to big companies. And I think that's awesome because you and I are often like, PS5 is going to be great. Pre-order one now. And he's like, hold up, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, so
yeah, for sure.
And I think that's good because it keeps us balanced in a way and keeps us fair. For you, Maddie, the thing that I would say, first of all, I guess maybe I have multiple things as well.
Oh my.
And I don't want to, I mean, I don't want to just echo what you said to me, but your work ethic is crazy because you put out a fucking video every day. Like that's insane to me.
I'm
like
making up for all that time I was lazy in high school.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think we're both at that because I was also pretty lazy in high school.
Yeah. Right.
So your work ethic to do that and stay on top of it is crazy. And I also just like that you are so attentive to your supporters and your fans. You read every question that's presented, and that's something I don't feel like is normal at all. And so to be that engaged with your audience, you are active in your own Discord all the time. You're very accessible to your audience, and that's something that I find so valuable in that. And I know it's hard for especially like the really big creators. You can't be available to your audience like that. And so I'm sure that will be something that as you continue to grow is going to be a more, difficult issue to deal with. But yeah, your stuff for sure too. That's the other thing, is that oftentimes I feel out of my element with you and Karak because you guys know what you're talking about. And that's what makes this show work.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that. Here's it's funny how it comes around, right? Because when Karak hopped on, I felt very, very like, I guess outclassed would be the right way to put it. I don't think I've ever shared this on the show. I was like, holy shit, Karak is way, like, there's differences at times. I was like, Karak is way fucking better than me. And I never ever got jealous. Like, I just looked up to the guy so much. I was like, Jesus Christ. Like, like I can't fucking compete with that. Like, I got to be able to hold a conversation with this guy for hours. So that was kind of like the spark that really got me digging into everything and being like really in touch with my work more so. So I'm glad that shows, and I appreciate you saying that. I didn't say what I like most about Karak. I will say I agree with the no bullshit brand. It's very authentic. I've spent dozens of hours with Karak. I've talked to him and stuff. I haven't met him in person, but like I've talked to him just off the show. I've messaged him a ton. Anytime something's ever wrong, Karak is one of the first people to message me and just be like, what's up? And I know he, just based off what he says on the show, I know he talks with a ton of people, companies, and he's always in my Discord and he's in his own. So for him to kind of just make time to reach out and genuinely care, I appreciate that a lot. I've even seen him like when I'm talking about something that's happened to me and like he gets like actually pissed off for me, which is the sign that I think someone genuinely gives a fuck about you. Right. So that's one thing I really like about Karak is he gives a fuck, and I think that's also very rare, and it's why I surround myself with people who do give a fuck, and I have no hesitation cutting people out who don't give a fuck, because it's, you're worthless at that point if you don't fucking care. Right. With Karak, I obviously am very career driven, and I think the other thing is that his work made me look at my own. I think that's the best thing a creation can do. Persona 5 Royal made me do that. I've made that no secret. When I beat that game, I was like, wow. I was like, I need to make better shit. I was like, because that is so strong of a game and such a powerful creation. I was like, I want to make someone feel like a fraction of that through a conversation or like a reveal or a reaction or something. I want to make them feel kind of like empowered by a creation. Or like when I made my TMNT review, I was really inspired by like so many people around me, because I was thinking of, this is like, it was a video, of course, reviewing the game, but it was entertaining. I was like, maybe someone will watch this and then want to go do their own thing. And it's just always that torch being passed on. And Karak's the one who really ultimately passed me that torch. Until that point, when I met Karak, I was just kind of like floating. And the other thing I'll appreciate is Karak's like a fucking wizard on YouTube. I know he complains a lot about like, monetization and stuff, but anytime I have had an issue with my channel performance-wise, he has told me directly what the issue it was that was causing it, and I saw an uptick in what, like, viewership or watch time, and he's helped me figure out my whole job. Like, it's him and my girlfriend too, but like before I met her, Karak was like, he'd look at my titles, he'd be like, dude, you sit on the fence too much. He's like, tell people what you think. I remember having that talk with him because I was like really frustrated. I was like, dude, like I feel like I'm just kind of floating out here. He's like, you're being too indecisive. He's like, no one likes that. He's like, tell them what you think on the topic. Like, if it's bad, it's bad. Don't hesitate from that. Because I would always be afraid to get just like destroyed.
Right.
And once I just kind of said, like, I'm just going to embrace the chaos. If I get destroyed, I get destroyed. Thank God that hasn't really happened yet. Like, where like I've just had like some response video made about me or some bullshit. Where like someone's just very negative about me. But even if it did, it's not like something I'm afraid of. So Karak helped me find courage too. So yeah, I just, you know, and Dustin, like I had so much nice things to say about you, and I've only just met you, which is a lot too. You know,
right?
It's one of those things where I'm usually pretty protective. I'm not Colin level protective of my circle, but I am protective of my circle, and letting you in as quickly as I have.
Yeah, it is, you know. With, you know, we've been talking on this a while, so we're in the circle jerk territory at this point, but I don't care. So I think we've talked about this, is that, so we did our Persona 5 Royal spoiler cast, and that was the first time you and I actually spoke to each other, is that we were like, started talking, hit record, go. And then it was like, it was like either a week or a few weeks after that you and I had an extended conversation on Discord, and we like hit it off like almost instantly, I'd say. And it's been great. And you and I have such a great relationship on whether it's working on actual stuff. And it's one of those feelings where it's like, man, if Matty lived near to me, we'd be hanging out all the time. It goes beyond just like working. So hopefully once the world is settled down, we'll be able to actually get together and hang
100%.
out outside of a Discord screen.
100%. That's a no doubter, right? Like that's what's exciting about when things come to normal. I hope Karak starts traveling, because I'd like to get all three of us together for something. Like doing a panel would be fucking amazing.
Yeah.
Or just like us just hanging out, right? Like that's the other thing. Like the fact that you and I crossed each other apparently at PAX and like,
dude,
just had no idea. Like that's wild.
Yeah, I definitely. I saw you going into the press room. So
just a tall, quirky lad.
Dude, I'm telling the H.A.M Radio panel at PAX will happen someday.
I would love that. I've never hosted a panel, so.
Dude, I was fucking terrified of doing a panel. I wasn't hosting it, but I was on it, and it was one of those things that we did a BioShock panel, which it's up on Handsome Phantom's YouTube channel if you want to check it out. But like, we had no clue who was going to be there, or like if we were going to be doing a panel for 5 people or 50.
That's the thing I worry about.
But no, dude, here's the thing, is that because we did it about BioShock, we filled the room.
Oh,
like it was crazy. It was like, it was one of those things where I was like, clearly, you know, they wanted to hear a conversation about BioShock. They're not here for us. Didn't have any kind of like weird delusions like that, but it was still like super humbling and scary. But it went well. So
there we go. Got more experience than me. I'll have to lean on you whenever we do our panel.
It'll be fun. It'll happen.
Last question comes in from Ben Jam, and then we're done.
Woo.
What do you think both Xbox and PlayStation as companies need to work on to be better?
I think Sony needs to work on their software overall, which I think we'll see what the PS5 is like, but like so many things in the PS4 generation and before that, like the whole name change thing was just like the fact you couldn't change your name for so long. And
you could, it's kind of like you're going to lose trophy or game access. It's like, what?
Right. And even leading up to the PS5, in addition, not just software, but like their messaging is always not quite where it should be. It's either confusing or slightly, I wouldn't say dishonest, but just not clear all the time. We were talking about the backwards compatibility stuff, how I feel like if it was good, which it seems like it is, why were they so weird about it? You know what I mean? So, what about for you for Sony?
I have to totally steal your answer. It was definitely messaging. I think messaging was terrible. Like, not even just PS5, just in general. I just feel like I never got a clear answer. Like, I think of the Fortnite crossplay thing where they were just like very much fighting on it. I just feel like they are ancient at times. And I know a lot of people thought like this is egg on the face before the new generation of consoles. Obviously, it didn't affect anything. The consoles sold out. People want them. They don't care. You know, it's a time capsule moment, but it's a thing that I at least remember. And I go like, that wasn't good. Like, it's not a good look. And so, yeah, I think just overall them communicating better would be really nice on all fronts, I will say.
Yeah.
But yeah, that would be my choice for PlayStation. Xbox, though, I think the answer is obvious with exclusives, but I feel like that's just, you got to wait, right? Like, I can't really hate on that because they are working on it. It's just games have to be made and they need to take time with it. Maybe their publishing, I feel like their publishing department could use a little improvement in, because when a PlayStation drops an exclusive, you and I, we can definitely say when we're waiting for Miles Morales, we knew we were waiting for something good. When we were waiting for Demon's Souls Remake, I imagine we're anticipating we're waiting for something good. When it comes to Xbox, though, when Gears Tactics was getting ready to come out, I was like, I don't have that feeling in my chest, that level of confidence, like this is going to hit. There needs to be that level of thorough checking on their games that they're publishing, at least in my opinion. Not that they've made bad ones, but I just feel like they need to really push that forward. They have, because they're known for being great publishers where they're like, hey, do your thing. But I feel like you need to be a little more strict, just quality measurement, at least, like just a little bit of quality control.
Right. I think that, and my answer for Xbox, I think they're in the process of already potentially fixing, is that I think that they've relied too much on their core stuff that they did in the 360 generation. Like, I don't know. It's conflicting for me just because, like, I feel like I would have liked to see something new instead of Gears 4 and 5, but clearly I'm in the minority in that because a lot of people really loved Gears 5. I think that they have not handled Halo very well since post Bungie, and the whole idea of like creating a studio to just make one franchise is a bit odd to me. So I'd love to see them expand out and focus on new IPs going forward, which again, this is something we've already started to see them do with Avowed. I kind of am a little conflicted about bringing back Fable. I kind of am like, maybe it would be better to try something totally new, but I also totally see the business side of like, we have this IP, people want more. So yeah, I guess, and like I said, they are doing this, especially another example is Hellblade, right? Which I guess is something they bought. So I just want to see new and exciting IPs. And that applies to PlayStation also. That's the one thing, one of the concerns I have for PS5 is that it's just going to be a sequel machine of PS4 titles, whether it be Horizon, Ghost of Tsushima, or whatever, God of War, Ragnarok, or whatever, that we're just going to get a bunch of sequels to PS4 games. I always want to see new IPs as well.
Right. I get that. I'm in the same boat with PlayStation. I'm a little concerned at the familiarity there, but who knows, right? Like, I'm already excited for Miles Morales, and that didn't cross my mind when I was reading the great reviews, but there was that. I guess Spider-Man's still fresh. We'll see how it applies for the rest of them.
We're both hypocrites because we're both so insanely excited to play Demon's Souls, a remake, and Miles Morales, which is like a pseudo sequel. And at the same time, we're wanting new stuff. So we'll never be happy, basically, is what I'm saying.
We're the consumers they don't listen to.
Right.
Just to put it simply. All right. That'll do it. Now, you did lag out at one point, but right now we're looking at almost a 3-hour episode. And we joked before this that this would be a quick one.
Yeah. Damn, we did not achieve that. We achieved more.
Well, here's the thing, though, is interestingly, our episodes have gotten longer and our listeners have gone up. I don't know how that works in such a crowded market. I feel like I would look at that and go like, I'm good. That's a long listen. I'm not saying everyone listens to the absolute end, like maybe 10 people are doing now, but I will say people seem to really like that we've extended the show just by being blabbermouths. Think of that. We got almost 3 hours here with just us two. Imagine if Karak was on this episode. Holy shit, bro.
Never
We'd be here
ended.
for 4 hours. Yeah, it literally would have never ended. All right. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we'll wrap up episode 276 of the H.A.M Radio Podcast. Dustin, any final thoughts, or do we get into the hashtag?
No, I think that I'm just very excited for next gen. It's here. This is the calm before the storm for us on the outside of the previews and review cycle. So
yeah, it's exciting, man. On next week's episode, like I said in the beginning, we're gonna be here talking PS5, Series X, games, hands-on impressions, lots of coverage. I'm sure it's gonna be a very busy time for everyone, but we're gonna do our best to bring you guys a great show for that. So keep it locked, and I guess we have to pick a serious hashtag this time, right? Like I feel like we didn't have any off the wall like this. Yeah, we didn't have like an off the wall joke.
That is one of the best Karak qualities as well, is his ability to just say the most outrageous thing at the perfect time.
That is true.
So we don't have that. I'm trying to think. Hashtag next gen ready. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a little corny, but
this has been a whole next gen preview type episode. So
I'm labeling the audio version the next gen extravaganza.
That would be a hard hashtag because I could definitely not spell extravaganza without an autocorrect.
Oh, okay.
So,
yeah, I hate autocorrect because it makes me a worse speller because I rely on it when I'm just like, oh, just figure it out for me.
I'm a terrible speller, dude. It's embarrassing. So it's like an essential tool.
I have not seen that yet. Only time it was when we were editing the Persona project.
Yeah, because I told you, I was like, dude, I suck at spelling. I will try as hard as I can to double check, and then we still had a few, but we fixed them.
We did. Quality control, just like Xbox lacks. Anyway, we'll do the hashtag next gen. We'll just keep it simple.
Hashtag next gen.
Next week, I'm sure with all of us, we'll have a better joke to really just hang on to, like menage a trois or whatever the hell it was. Yeah, we got a bunch of those last time. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, let us know if you got this deep into the show. Tag us on Twitter. We got to get an overlay for our show. You know, we have the great camera set up, but we need to have bars with our handles.
Right.
So that people can watch and then see where to go. Even though it's all linked in the description.
I can try to help you with that.
Dustin,
especially if we have some new artworks and stuff, we can design it around that. So,
okay, cool. Then I will keep you posted on that.
Cool.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening. And with that, we will catch you guys in next week's big next gen episode. Peace out.
See ya.